Good evening, everybody. This is Old Dead Man. We're going to be taking a look at the dev server in a little bit here. I'm watching the comments, so let me know if you have specific questions, but we're still a few minutes early, so I'm going to just go ahead and goof off for a couple of minutes, and Rising should be joining me any moment now, so sit back, relax, and let me know if there's any problems with the audio. Hi, Bernie Bourbon. How's it going? By the way, while we're waiting, you'll note that they have changed the markers for cap points in ground battles. Definitely a lot more convenient as far as I'm concerned, and they don't light up the whole countryside from the looks of things.
Alright, I'm good.
Alright, I've got my stream live. Should be firing up in just a moment here, Rising. If you tell me when you're ready to start reviewing what the vehicles are.
I am good. I am at start looking at the American ground.
You ready? Let me jump out of this match here. Okay, admittedly, the graphics on jaying out of your tank, really good. Ooh, the end results screen is different too. I didn't even notice this before.
I kind of don't like the new kind of graphics for the user interface. Do you know, in the hangar? I mean, I love the new hangar, but I don't like how they've changed the what's got to be more. I want to say the word sharp. You know?
Yeah, you're looking. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. They have. I would say crisp would be the word I would be thinking of, because they did make sure that everything is clearly defined across the user interface. I actually prefer it just because it's a user interface. It's meant to get you to play in the game. It's not supposed to necessarily. The more pretty, quote, quote, it is, the less user friendly it is, in my opinion.
Let me know when you're on.
All right, let's see. I am on. We're looking at American ground first.
Yep.
Well, that's going to be an obvious one. We got the M1128 Striker,
Which is a 9.0.
9.0, I think, is a good battle rating for it. I think that it's going to be way easy to kill, and I don't think those RPG racks are going to do anything for it.
You see, I think 9.0 is a bit too low for it, just because of one thing. Have you seen that M900 Sabo shell? 522 mil of armor pen, 513 mil at 500 meters, 504 mil at 1,000 meters. That is better than a lot of 10-3 tanks.
Yes, but you also have to remember it's got a 3-member crew. It's probably going to be subject to hull break, most likely, and there's a 0 armor on the turret.
Okay, can I just go through a list of vehicles with you to, like, compare to, like...
Go for it. That's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, actually, hang on. I'm trying to find them. So, looking at, for starters, the Radkampfwagen and the TAM-2C. I know. Their best shell for a Sabo is 408mm pen, or 400mm Heat FS. TAM-2, best pen is 436. Let's go to the Russians.
They both have better survivability than the M1128 will have.
I am going to have to disagree on that because yes, the fact that a Sabo shell will equally go through the M1128, as well as going through a TAM or a Radkampfwagen or a Rukat or a Type 16 or a Centauro, but the main thing I'm looking at is this, the level of protection against ATGMs on the hull it's pretty impressive. I mean, you've got the slat armor, the steel mesh all the way around, which is clearly for like going to be electrocuted and anti-climb thing. Not really, but anyways, basically it's there to stop ATGMs and detonate Heat FS mainly. But you've also got the skirts on the side of the tracks, which behind them have a composite screen, which yes, it's only 50mm thick, and at the moment the composite screen isn't actually modelled into the X-ray view, so you can't actually see what the stats are for that, but still, I reckon, and it's a very spaced out vehicle if you look at it. Engine at the front to the left, transmission is at the lower part. Other than that, you've got the two crews sat side by side below the turret and one crew at the front. The engine is so small. A Sabo shell, for a hull break on this, you're going to have to hit the engine. And that means at the very front. If you're shooting a side on at this, there's a pretty good chance that the Sabo shell can just go through the side and can pop out the other side. That's the way I'm looking at this at the moment, with just how spaced everything is inside and how small all the components are. You know?
So you're saying that basically everything's going to shoot through it like an AP shell through a destroyer?
Not all the time, but I reckon this is going to have high survivability just because it's paper armor, and we all know what it's like trying to shoot sometimes when we shoot a R3 or an Orbital or a Centauro, we fire a Sabo shell at it and it pops out the other side and it's done little to no damage because it's literally just gone through that gap where no one's been sat or no modules are or anything like that, and it hasn't had that armor to spot. What the hell? There's a Bradley rolling around. There's a Bradley.
Yeah,
down the road behind.
That's the new hangar. They have a lot more activity going on. If you actually look to the right from where you're looking right now, you'll see there's a tent with some maintenance techs talking. You'll see them gesture and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, I've seen. Yeah, I know about that, but I just did not realize that the vehicle's actually rolled along the ground behind you.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so the counter I'm going to have is that it does not have speed on its side. It's barely faster than a World War II medium tank. It has no armor. It has the RPG rack, which I contend I don't think it's going to stop any regular shell. The plus sides, on the other hand, that gun is fully stabilized even at full speed. You can hit things on the run.
Plus, it does have a very good top speed.
Only theoretically. I mean, if you get it on a road, yes. But I'm driving it off-road right now on a test drive, and I've got Shermans that act about like this.
Fair is. You see, I can't test drive it, unfortunately.
Americans
are torture.
It's going to be a sniper. Somebody's going to sit behind a hill, and they're going to have their gun taken out repeatedly. They're going to repair. They're going to pop up. And they're going to snipe.
Yep. The other thing as well is the fact that this is going to be one hell of a hull down tank, because if you get hull down in this, the they can't snipe your gunner, they can't snipe your loader, they can't snipe any of your turret crew because your breach is literally just sat.
It does look awesome, Bernie.
Yeah,
it does.
On top of the turret. The turret is such a small flat thing, and then you've got this massive breach on top. You're gonna be able to get hull down with this easily and just pop off. I reckon, in all honest opinion, I reckon this is gonna go up BR rating shortly after patch.
I can't see it above 10.0 though. I could see it 9.3.
I could see. To be honest, probably we might be looking at 9.7. Just for something's just telling me that shell, even though it's like you're test driving at the moment, you're saying it's got poor maneuverability, but that shell, coupled with the fact that you are going to be the best hull down tank in the game, other than the M901. You know, that's kind of what is. That's the way I'm looking at it at the moment. It's going to be one heck of a sniper, and it's going to be really, really hard to kill when it's in that hull down position. Because look at the size of the breach as well.
Well, that's... Can it be hull broken by shooting the breach?
I do not know. We can test it. Oh no, we can't because you.
No, we can't because I don't have it. So yeah.
No.
But that's my contention. I could see it going up, but I could also see it staying at 9.0 quite comfortably, especially in the time frame when people are getting it and spading it, and its stats will absolutely suck.
Yeah.
That said, its stock heat FS went through everything on the test drive. It did a tremendous job going through it and blew up everything I touched.
Yeah. So I mean, from what I'm gathering, we've both got kind of different opinions of how well this tank is going to do. I mean, that mobility is a cause for concern, but I'll still probably stand by my point for now about the fact that I can see enormous potential in this little, well, I say little, it's not a little tank, this big tank. But at the same time, you're seeing serious drawbacks. So
yeah, and to be honest, the reality is probably somewhere halfway in between.
Yep. In the right hands, this could probably be devastating. But in unexperienced hands, it will probably not do very well.
Yeah, I think that in experienced hands, this thing will be a monster, but it's the same problem that you always have.
Now, though, that the 50 cal is only going to have probably a gun arc of 90 degrees to your right. Well, not even 90 degrees by the looks of things. Well, maybe 90. Yeah, because it can twist on that mount itself. So yeah, maybe 90 degrees to the right of wherever your turret is facing, and forwards, and that's it. So that is going to be kind of a bit of a downside as well. Because you still, even at top tier, you still face tanks that you can easily pen with a 50 cal.
That is true. And let me see. Yeah, about 90, a little bit less than 90 degrees. It looks like it tops out about 75 degrees.
What, elevation?
No, the traverse to the right.
Yeah. What about the elevation? Is it a good elevation on the 50 cal?
Only slightly better than the cannon itself.
So just slightly more than 15 degrees. So it's not really going to be useful for anti-air that much then.
Correct, yeah.
And with the fact that your armor is... you've got 25 mil on top for your top armor, so it's not entirely the worst. Well, actually, no, you've got more than 25.
It's probably going to depend on where at. I mean, your breach will get taken out multiple times, I'm sure.
So you've got... So it looks like there's a... That like the actual roof armor is 12.7 mil thick, and then you've got a 25 mil plate stretching over most of that roof armor.
According to the numbers, it should be proof against 50 cal, but it shouldn't be proof against 20 mil rounds.
Well, I'm just looking on the armor view, and at the moment I'm seeing areas where I can highlight 12.7 mil armor plates. Basically it's all along the top, and then there's 25 point. Oh, okay. So the actual armor is 12.7, but then it's got a Mexus 2C armor package, which is basically a 25.4 mil, I'm guessing a pleak armor by the looks of things, on top of it. And this is like all over the majority of the whole front, sides, not on the rear surprisingly. But yeah, so that will withstand 50 cals. Like, there might be one or two very small gaps you could possibly sneak a 50 cal through at close range, but that should withstand most 50 cals.
Yeah, I could see it being a bit trolly that way.
It really does look cool though.
I think it's going to be fun, but I think it's going to be a challenge for anybody who... I think if you're good at M18, you'll probably be good at Striker.
Yeah. I think if anyone who's also got a lot of experience with like the Orbital and the R3 and Centauro, and the Italians will have good experience with the Striker as well. But
Alright, so, next. What's next on the list? Do you want to go ground vehicles, then switch over to the next stuff? Or do you want to go country by country? Because I've got a list here of country by country.
It's up to you. It is up to you.
Yeah, let's just do it country by country. I think that's a nice, easy way to do it. Which puts us in the American Air Tree, and there are two new additions, the AV-8A and 8C.
So, I am slightly annoyed with the fact that the Americans are getting the AV-8, and it is the same BR as the Harrier, because even though I know it is the same aircraft, and as much as I love the Harrier, the AV-8 has an upgraded aviation suite.
So it has the thing that doesn't make any difference to the game?
I was going to say, this is where it starts to come in, because if you actually noticed, Gaijin is starting to look more into actual aviation suites and how they can affect the game. So, I reckon, at least this time next year, we'll have full-blown aviation suites that are going to be changing the way certain aircraft work.
Alright, two observations right off the bat. Number one, they actually have the aircraft carrier bobbing on the waves now.
Yep.
And if you use the cat takeoff, I don't have the buttons assigned for thrust vectoring, but if you use the cat takeoff, it moves off that carrier like a dream. Nice and fast.
Oh yeah. I was on, as I said, I had a quick look earlier when I saw that this was up before I had to jump onto another game. And yeah, the Harrier was the first thing I went to.
I knew it would be.
So I've set up the controls, so I do have my thrust vectoring and the ability to change said vectors. So I did try and actually try and pull some fancy maneuvers. Now, one thing that instantly, as a tip for anyone who's looking at actually using the Harrier, when you go for a vertical takeoff, do not instantly set your thrust vector from all the way downwards to all the way backwards, because if you do that, you will fall out the sky. You want to angle them slowly backwards first, so that you start to move forward, pick up a bit more forward momentum. Basically, it's going to be like taking off, essentially. You're going to want to build up that bit of speed before you actually put your exhaust all the way back. Because if you stick them all the way back, you've got no speed. You'll just plummet out of the sky. Your nose will start to dip, and you'll find it's difficult to pull the nose up.
Also, the crash animations and the fire effects are very nice.
One thing that I'm gonna really need to do is actually sort out a whole new keybind list, because I've got on my Resonaga, I've got 2 buttons that I use to set my elevators to maximum negative or positive, just so that instead of like trying to do it on a keyboard, I can basically do control that with those 2 key buttons on my mouse, whilst being able to look behind and keep an eye on the aircraft behind me. Just so useful. But with this, I've tried to set it so I control the thrust vector as well. It doesn't work. I need to have that on my keyboard. So yeah, anyone who's does something similar, they might. I mean, some people might find it nice and easy, but for me, it's just easier to have one on the keyboard and the other on the page, because if you have it on the mouse, you might struggle to hit both the buttons at the same time, and then you really fail to do some sweet maneuvers which can really turn the tides, such as if you are stuck in a scissor fight with an enemy aircraft, set your thrust vectors all the way down to 0%, so they're pointing downwards. Then you can really get on the inside of that scissor.
Okay, you say 0%, but I'm pretty sure 0% is what I'm setting it to go forward.
Yep, you're right, that is my bad, I meant 100%. Sorry, I'm just shooting down a MiG, because Harrier is awesome. You have no idea how long I've been waiting to fly this plane in this game. I mean, it's like another thing as well. If you're like, so if you've been dogfighting or something like that, or you're pulling a tire loop and you manage to evade someone, but oh no, you're not going to be able to pull out of that diving time. Any normal aircraft would crash. The Harrier, just put your thrust vectoring to 100% and you can pull up out of it.
It's going to mean people are going to have to get used to having that as an extra option for themselves. And to be honest, I'm going to have to redo all my key bindings too, because it's going to be impossible to keep track of. Also, 100% thrust overheats the engine.
Yes, that is something that I did notice as well. I believe that is actually a bug, because with oh, that's water. Sorry, I'm trying to do a flyby, and that's the crane. I do love the crash mechanics, the fire.
The fire's awesome.
The
Yes.
fire is amazing. But anyways, basically, so what was I saying again?
Okay, so target destroyed. Excellent.
So I'm actually going to take out the Mighty Mouse rocket and just try and do a hover attack, because that's the other thing. So basically, the funny thing is, because of the actual thrust vectoring controls, you've got a new key binding for aircraft, which is basically
just check for myself, don't worry.
why did that just say I crash landed? Okay, but anyways, basically what you can do is you can hover. There's a key that you can press to hover like a helicopter, and it will make you hover in place. And then it acts exactly like a hover does for helicopters. So you can tilt yourself to go left and right, and pitch your nose forwards to go forward slightly, but you won't really move that fast or that far anywhere.
This thing's going to be a bear to land in hover mode, or without using hover mode. I can tell that.
On a carrier, seeing as though the carriers now seem to move very, very fast, you know.
Yeah.
Also, I did have you noticed the 30mm now deal actual damage to carriers?
I'm not surprised, but yeah.
Ooh, so my tail hook. Actually, no, it wasn't even the tail hook. It was just the tail, the fin tail, scraped the water. Then. Yeah, this thing is going to just be tremendous fun. Absolute.
It's going to be a hoot.
Even though, like, right now, there's a problem with the engine overheating just sat at 100%. It's going to be amazing. Now, one of the things that the Harrier actually had, and the AV8 had them as well, because the only thing that was changed from the AV8s was the avionics suite and different engine. Well, I say different engine, it was basically a license-built copy of the Pegasus engine. So it was the same engine, it was just built by Allison instead. Anyways, basically the thing that I'm noticing is missing, or at least I'm not seeing it, is the Harriers had little nozzles on the wingtips, where it could also direct exhaust jet down, so it could give it a bit better roll rate, a bit better maneuverability, which I am not actually seeing on the models, if I'm honest. So, whether they bring that in or not, I do not know.
I actually had better luck not using the hover mode to take off, but I also wasn't trying to do a precision takeoff using it either. I was just trying to get off the carrier.
See, I'm gonna go to the runway and try and land without the hover mode on, just using thrust vectoring. Should probably dump my load of ordnance though. So ordnance wise, I mean, it's as far as it, like the aircraft we have in game already can carry, it's not that impressive. You get 3,000-pounder bombs, you get
Ooh, I just stalled it in bad.
oh, how did you stall a Harrier?
Well,
this thing can literally just stop in midair.
tell that to the thrust vectoring and turning the thrust down.
Oh, okay, so yeah. So what, did you pull your nose up, put your thrust vectoring straight
down, then pulled the throttle back, because that's how I'm used to dealing with going too fast. So you have to mentally change how you're dealing with it.
So, yep, so right now I'm actually trying to thrust vector, and it is very difficult because you've got to try and dump your speed. So like,
and you do have to gradually move that you do have to gradually move it forward, and otherwise you're going to be moving backwards. Or
now to do the actual movement forward, you can just actually change your thrust vector control ever so slightly. So like, I just put my thrust vector to 86% and it just gave me a gentle move forward. So gear down. So yeah. So landing using thrust vector is going to be very, very difficult because you got to try and it's like a helicopter but harder. You got to try and gently set it down. You come down too fast, you're gonna break your landing gear, just kill yourself. But you don't have any of the heads up that the helicopters have on the right side telling you your climb rate, because normally in an aircraft to climb you're going forward and upwards. So
There we go.
I made it down.
Yeah, I landed as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna try a normal takeoff, see how long it takes to get in the air.
Are you doing it from the aircraft carrier?
No, I'm doing it from the runway. So it's not actually that long. It's quite a short takeoff, to be honest. This is with thrust vectoring at 0%, and yeah, you get up to about 300 kilometers an hour, and you can basically end your up if you put your flaps down. Now, with regards to, I'm going to give it another attempt landing, and then I'm going to try. I
ripped my cockpit off.
How did you rip your cockpit off?
For some reason, it didn't close it automatically when I took off.
Ooh, okay, so you've got to be very careful about when you're rolling with your thrust vectoring at a full 100, because this thing it'll roll the way you want to, and then it will literally rock the opposite way.
Yes, it's got a very aggressive roll.
Oh shit. Nope.
I'll have to take a look. Sinful Saint, I'll have to take a look at what it says when I get there. I'm pretty sure it's one of the second generation. But
ooh, wow, okay. So you can actually take quite a lot of punishment on landing, because I came down way too fast, didn't have my landing gear down, so I put it down at the last second, broke the landing gear on the wingtips, came back up, then thought, okay, I'm very close to the ground, I'll gently set it down. Came down too hard again, broke both landing gear, went back up, ended up pivoting on my nose, where my nose was on the ground. Then I managed to, instead of flipping over, I managed to twist myself in the air, and then I came back down. I've snapped off a wingtip. My front fuselage is black, my tail is slightly red, engine undamaged, repaired fine. Whoa! Okay, so if you really wanted to get up in the air really quickly, best thing to do is don't go for a vertical takeoff, don't go for a normal takeoff. Go for in between. Basically set your thrust vector, so start rolling on the runway, put your throttle to 100%, and then set your thrust vector to like probably 60%.
I really like trees
you'll
today.
Be up in the air by the time you hit 180 kilometers an hour, compared to the 320 that you do on your normal run. And this is with a full ordnance load of 76 Hydra rockets. So
yeah, you can't really do a VTOL takeoff if you're fully loaded with the heaviest loads.
you can.
You're not supposed to be able to.
Oh yeah, you're not. Well, no, correction. You're not supposed to because of the stress on the airframe in real life. But in real life, they could still do it. In game, you don't have that stress on the airframe. So yeah.
All right, I think that's enough on the on the aircraft, because the Aviate-C is just basically the same thing. And you've probably been looking at the British versions over there.
So yeah, the British versions, they pretty much get the same loadout. They're using the AIM-9G air-to-air missiles as well. So the one thing that I am pleased about, because in the announcement for the Harrier, they did say that the so with the Americans, you've got the Aviate-A and the Aviate-C. The Aviate-C has a better engine. Same with the Harrier GR1 and the GR3. The GR3's got a better engine. The better engine variants were supposed to be the premiums, but they swapped them around. So now the better engine variants are in the tech tree.
I think that's how you're supposed to do it, because the premiums are lower tier. They should be an accessible version of a better tech tree vehicle that gets you some premium bonuses. But that's not how they've been doing it in the past.
No. So, on to, I believe that's everything for aviation for the Americans.
That's correct. Now they've added some, moved some stuff around in the naval. Let's see. Let's go for the Blue Water Fleet first. Got the USS Wellborn. They called it a Clemson. Clemson class. Got it.
Yep. So we've got all the destroyers and the
destroyers, light cruisers, and
heavy cruisers,
and battleships.
So first off, they have brought out new premium vehicles.
Yes, indeed.
Because they've been mixing it around, but they are pretty much just the same as their tech tree variants.
Now, one variation that should be of note to anybody who's watching, if you look at the reserve Clemson DD-336, you'll see that it is in fact battle rating 3.3, even though it says reserve. So no, you're not going to be taking your Clemson into reserve battle rating naval battles. Nice try on that. So, that's an interesting change.
Speaking of that change, I am interested how they're going to merge the PT boats and the destroyer battles and cruiser battles together still. I mean, there is a simple way they could do it, but knowing Gaijin, they won't do it the simple way, or they just won't do it at all. I don't know whether you are still going to actually have the Blue Water Fleet and the Coastal Fleet in the same battle together, combined battle sort of, or whether it's now Blue Water Fleet is going to be fighting Blue Water Fleet and Coastal Fleet is going to be fighting Coastal Fleet.
According to the dev blog, they're just going to combine them all in the same matchmaker still. They only have marked them as different for the purposes of research.
Yeah. Fair enough then.
So, we got a Wellborn, Clemson class, a Moffat, which is a Porter class, all familiar vehicles. Those are both premiums that they're adding this patch. And of course, we have the USS New Orleans. That would be a heavy cruiser. And I don't remember seeing a dev blog on this.
On the New Orleans, there hasn't been one.
Okay, then that explains that. And the USS North Dakota. What's your take on the New Orleans?
I haven't really had a chance to actually look at the New Orleans. Basically, my first thing to do was check battleships, check Harrier, play Harrier, done. So,
yeah, I kind of figured as much.
Priorities.
Indeed.
So, I mean, ultimately, looking at its load, it looks essentially the same as the Northampton, but with a heavier anti-air armament.
Yeah, that's kind of a good summary of it.
I mean, so you're looking at 8 50 cals. Your turrets are the same. 3 turrets with 8-inch guns, or 3 turrets with triple.
3 triple turrets, right?
Yep. 8 turrets with 15-inch guns, but it's mainly the.
Please say 5-inch guns, because if you say 15-inch guns, that's a thank you.
5-inch guns. It's because I read the 1.1. But yeah, the main difference is going to be the AA armament.
Yeah, it looks like.
40 mil quad 40 mil bofers. Sorry, 6 quad 40 mil bofers, and then 14 twin 20 mils on the New Orleans, compared to the Northampton's 8 single 50 cals, and then you've got the what is that? 1.1 inch. So what's
hang on a second, let me flip back over there. Where are you seeing 1.1 inch on the New Orleans?
on Northampton? Sorry, the Northampton's got 4 quad 1.1 inch, which I think is 25 mil.
Yeah, it's about 25 millimeter.
Yeah. So New Orleans is going to be way more protected, but it's going to have a lot more ammo. I mean, look at that, 50,000 rounds for the
Of 20 millimeter, yes.
and 48,000 for your
40s, yeah. I mean, can you imagine trying to get through all that ammo in a match?
Yeah, it would be It would certainly would be. I think we'd have to like do another event like what we did, where
Yes.
you in a boat and everyone else in planes, but we'd need a lot more planes.
Too true. Too true.
But yeah, looking at the armor, looking at the placement of, well, first off the internals, all the ammo, other than obviously the shell rooms and the elevators underneath the actual turrets, most of the ammo is stacked up behind the turrets towards the citadel. So they are within the armored area, and the armor is not bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
for what it is. But if you go,
now kind of
yeah,
ruining this because this is pretty good armor for a heavy cruiser. For, I mean, 52 kilometers an hour, and yes, I know that's not in knots. I should be talking knots, but I can't be bothered to convert.
yeah, and I'm not going to go and switch my stuff around for a look at the dev server.
I mean, one thing I am noticing is the towards the back where the forwardmost rotors or the forwardmost screws, that is kind of where your weakest armor is, with the best chance of you catching fire or potentially getting ammo racked.
Yeah, looks like just a little bit behind the center of the ship, right, just behind that rear turret.
Yep, but for that's going to be plunging fire through. It can't. It's going to have to be either very long range plunging fire, or if it's medium range, that's going to be going through the water and through the armor belt underneath the water to get that. So ultimately, this thing's it's well protected. It's going to be hard to take this out with an ammo rack, unless obviously it's going up against a battleship. Because let's face the elephant in the room, that's now just going to trump all. So
yep, the cruisers are going to have to start hiding. That's what it comes down to.
Yep, which is something that they've never had to. I mean, looking at the ammo as well for its guns, 358 mil armor pennon, that's at 1,000 meters. At 7,500 meters to 10,000 meters, because let's be honest, you do see people shooting at each other at that range. You've only got 181 to 204, which isn't that bad, because that's when you really start to look at the top.
The deck armor, yeah, the deck armor instead.
Yeah, the deck armor, because of plunging fire, but it's it's really not a bad heavy cruiser, but I think the time of heavy cruisers is over.
Pretty much, and the problem is they're basically the same. The battleship will reign supreme. Speaking of battleships, USS North Dakota.
Yep. So it's I still cannot get used to the odd layout of the rear two turrets. The
No.
turrets.
Okay, you have the two that are back to back, and then one that's above the two.
What would that be? Turret Y and Z?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because usually with the way they list turrets is AM, it goes from front, from bow to the citadel is A, B, and however many main turrets you've got between the bow and the citadel, and then from citadel to stern, it's the last one is always. Well, it depends on navies. Some navies go to Z, some navies only go to Y.
So, I don't know why. Serious. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. Okay, it is an unusual. It really was. The arrangement, of course, when you look at the history of the ship, it's clear that they were going for the broadside. They wanted the most power on the broadside. They didn't want to waste a single gun from that requirement. Which is why, if you're at the front of the ship, you can only fire 4 guns, and the rear of the ship, you can only fire 4 guns. But the broadside gets the full 10 guns.
Yep. That is... So basically that is going to be some serious firepower coming your way. Plus, anyone that's brave enough to bring a small torpedo boat against this thing is going to have some serious problems. Because 14 5-inch guns, which is 150 mil? 127? Yeah, 127 mil. See here in the stat card. So yeah, 14 of that, 7 on each side.
Yeah, it's going to be heavily protected against surface vessels. Though, as long as, the battle off Samar in World War II proves that if they don't switch to HE shells, a little destroyer might take a whole lot of shots before it sinks.
Yep. But armor protection. I mean, we really needn't bother covering this, but we might as well if we're going to look at the other battleships.
Just rather than going through all the numbers, just kind of give it a how protected is it? Is it compared to just give it a quick protection comparison?
Very, very protected compared to what we've seen in the game. Obviously, it's going to have a lot more armor. With regards to just general survivability, it's going to be very, very hard for anything that is not a battleship to get at any of this ship's systems. Unless you could hit the screws at the back, but that's about it. There is one weakness, however, that I am seeing that is a difficult one to reach, but you can still reach it. The coal bunkers. The coal bunkers at the very, very bottom of the ship are unarmored, other than the fact that they're the coal bunkers themselves. So they've got decent armor themselves, but still
they're treated as armor for this purpose. And what do you got? Boilers, smoke engine.
There are coal bunkers, which means coal inside, which means if they have been modeled correctly, they should, with a direct hit, have a high chance of going up in flames, which means fire in the middle of your ship, next to your engines and all your ammo.
On the other hand, most of those coal bunkers you're looking at are beneath the waterline. So
that is the other thing I was going to say, is the fact that it's going to be and it's deep below the waterline as well.
Oh,
so it's going to be a very, very hard hit. But part piece, this does have torpedo tubes.
Yes, it does. Should have 1 4 and 1. No, okay.
Oh wait, no.
That's 12 torpedoes.
That's 12 torpedoes. It's got.
It should have 1 forward and. Where do you see in that?
2 for 1 pointing port, 1 pointing starboard.
Up, I see him. Okay. And do they have an aft torpedo tube on this one?
Nope, not on the North Dakota.
Okay, so just 2 tubes then.
Yes, 2 tubes, 1 right, 1 left, which means that you could get a sneaky little kill on someone who decides to try and get too close.
Yeah, nice little point blank torpedo shot.
That's if You don't kill them with your
Your
insane
main
amount of
guns, your secondary guns, your tertiary guns, your your AA guns.
Tertiary. I was going to say, speaking of tertiary and AA, you don't really have any, so stay away from aircraft.
Yes, the this one
You've
has
got-
basically 0 AA protection.
You've got 2 3-inch guns, and that is it. And because of the period that the North Dakota is actually from, and this will go for all battleships currently that's being released in this patch, your AA guns are designed for direct hit. So you're not going to have any fuse, you're not going to have any high explosive or anything like that. It's mainly going to be tracer shells and APT. I'll be very surprised if any of them fires a HE, a high explosive variant of a tracer shell at enemy air, because you didn't really have enemy air at sea during the time that these were actually constructed and then sailing around in World War One. The best you had was spotter aircraft, which would stay way far back and out of range.
Yeah, I mean, only the most miraculous lucky hit would be involved there, because they might be in your range, but they're certainly not going to be in your effective range for that type of a shot.
Yes.
Of course, World War II, the Bismarck, it was they were actually just blasting into the water with their main guns, and they nearly took out an airplane that way with a column of water. So, it's if that worked in game, that'd be entertaining. It was one of the swordfish, is what it was.
Yep. But with the introduction of naval mines that can be airdropped by aircraft, and the fact that the battleships are 6-0, which means that you are coming across some very, very maneuverable, dive bomber aircraft, fighter bomber aircraft, just general ship bombing aircraft. You're coming across a lot of aircraft that are going to be able to ruin your day, so basically, if you go in a battleship, grab yourself a little destroyer, buddy, or a cruiser that is like the New Orleans. Just grab yourself a New Orleans.
Yep. Just have that sitting next to you, your buddy in that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the North Dakota?
Nope. That is all good.
All right, and by my calculations, that is the American tree.
Yep. So, on to Germany. The Germans are coming.
The Germans are coming. Let's see, they
have 3 new tanks.
Indeed, the Leo 1A5.
Yep. Which I'm kind of struggling to actually see the main difference between the Leo 1 A5 and the Leo A1A1.
They're both 105mm equipped. I think the armor is basically the same.
Yep, identical. Turret rotation speed, should be identical once you get the horizontal turret drive.
Does it get a better shell, perhaps?
DM12, DM23, DM33, and DM502.
The answer is yes, because the DM23 is the highest A1A1 gets.
Okay, so DM33 then is a 408mm Penning Sabre shell at 10 meters. At 500 meters, it's 398mm.
Yeah, and the A1A1's top at point blank is 337, so yeah, definitely.
Only 0.3 of a BR higher though, so it's 9.0 instead of the A1A1's 8.7 for that new shell.
I think that's a good spot for it with that particular combination of armor, mobility, and shell.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to talk about the Leopard 2A6 first, or shall we address the Rhinoceros in the room?
Let's go ahead and do the 2A6, because I can't drive the new Florac yet.
I can't drive either.
I can't drive either one either. But let's go ahead and look at the 2A6 since we're talking tanks. 2A6.
So, first off, I actually need to double check. So, is it me, or is there something giant on the turret of the 2A? Nope, that was on the 2A5 as well.
The main
Never mind.
difference here is the 2A6 has a longer gun.
Yep, the 120 mil Rheinmetall. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it properly. Rheinmetall 120
Rheinmetall.
L55. See, that's what I got you for.
Hey, at least I can do the German. I may not be able to do English, but I can do German.
So, yes.
The DM53 is going to be its real draw here with 652 millimeter point blank.
Yep.
And 604 at 2,000 meters.
Yes, that is. I'm pretty sure that's the new top shell, isn't it?
As far as I know, yes. What about thermals? Do you know what version of thermals this has?
I don't, but I believe I read somewhere that it was going to have new gen thermals, which is basically going to be better than anything we've got in the game so far. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see on that.
We'll see. Yep. Otherwise, if you drive the 2A5, you're going to love the 2A6. That's simple. It's 2A5 but better.
But yeah, I believe the new T72 AV Terms Premium is also having new gen thermals, but we'll have to check that when we get to it.
Actually, I know that one because I did the dev blog on it. And yes, its thermals are going to be the best in the game, which doesn't accept that maybe the 2A6 has the same thermals.
Yes. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull up the dev blog now. And just confirm.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I did during my mega catch-up video because I'd gotten so far behind on the dev blogs. Whew, and this was the shortest one just because if you like the 2A5, you're going to love the 2A6. It's that simple.
Okay, so here's the dev blog for the 2A6. So as the dev blog already mentions, it's going to basically be exactly the same as the Leopard 2A5, but with the better Rheinmetall 120 L55. So it gets the better shell, more accurate. Does not say anything about the thermals at all. So my guess would be that the thermals are actually going to remain the same as the Leopard 2A5.
Okay, I'm just doing a quick Google search here.
Well, whilst you do that, I am going to start looking at the Flaracrad. I feel like that's abbreviated for something.
Yes, I looked it up. It's another incomprehensibly pronounced word combination.
One thing I have noticed is that, like, if you go like French, English, French, Italian, and all that sort of stuff, the words are very, very similar. Like, you look at the word and you can kind of guess what that word is, what a French word is in English, just by like how it's spelled and how it looks and how it sounds. Not all the words, obviously, but a lot of the words. Same with Italian. But you go to German, and it's just completely the opposite direction.
My take on German is if you know the meaning of the individual words, they just run it all together. So to describe what they're talking about. So if you can figure out what the individual word parts are, it describes what it is.
No wonder they sound angry all the time. They're having to say such long words to describe something that we can describe in like one.
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. I have some wonderful German friends who would kill me if I went on board with that one. Okay, the 2A6 doesn't mention anything about new thermals compared to the 2A5 when I look it up online. So I would say it has the same ones as the 2A5.
Yeah, or that is going to be probably going to be the top tank in the game for a while. just because we all know the Leopard 2A5 has really good armor, and now it's got the best gun in the game.
Exactly, and with an amazing shell. So,
And good mobility.
yep, it's got it. It's got it all. The best of all worlds.
I think the only thing it's missing is that new anti-missile system. I can't remember what it's called. That the new Soviet, is it the T-90 has? You know, the little red.
Oh yeah, the one that confuses ATGMs.
Yes, that is the only thing it's missing. If it had that, it would be insane.
That is true. All right, you ready to move on to the Florak grad?
Yep, I'm already looking at it.
All right, so how do you want to play Euro Truck Simulator today?
Well, I was thinking I'm going to try and drive up a hill, get stuck at the base, and ask you to tow me out.
Oh, gee. Okay, it does have structural steel as its chassis, so that's the armor, which is underneath everything, so it doesn't actually protect anything.
Yes, that's literally just going to cause shells to spoil better.
Pretty much.
That's all the structural. It's not going to stop anything going through. It's just going to say, "Hey, look, now you're in 1,000 shrapnel pieces, so you can do more damage because I have."
Woohoo!
I mean, that is one thing about it. It's a very big vehicle, but it's still, again, like the Striker, a lot of space inside. I mean, you look at the whole back end of that tank, and there's just nothing there.
Yeah, but everybody's gonna hose you down with 50 cals. I mean, even the 30 cal, the 7.62 is gonna soar right through this thing. It's got 5 millimeters of armor, and even that's rolled homogeneous armor. There we go.
Yep, that and the fact that any ATGM is or heat shell or HE shell is gonna hull break you, and Sabo shells, with the fact that your armor is so weak, most Saber shells are gonna hull break. You're gonna be hull broken like most shots, which is gonna be a shame because you are gonna be very hard to hide, and even if you do manage to somehow get that hull hidden, your radar and your actual turret is just
everything else is going to be a target.
Still, yeah. This I am not going to play. I'm not even going to bother going for this because for what you actually are, what you're actually getting, it's just going to be so situational. Like, I mean, I can understand on a map like maybe Berlin or maybe advanced Iran where there's a lot of buildings around for you to actually take cover behind, but the downside to that is then you don't have a nice clear line of sight on enemy aircraft coming in or enemy helicopters hiding behind buildings in the distance and stuff like that where they can pop up and pop down easy. They're going to be able to do that a lot easier against you, and you're going to struggle. Plus, you don't have a 30 cal or 50 cal or any other sort of automatic weapon to defend yourself and try and shoot down those ATGMs if someone pops one off at you. Not that it's an easy thing to do, but just having that gives you that potential chance of survival. This thing is just going to die. Like,
oh, absolutely.
And again, for what you're actually getting, the Roland 3 missile, and then you can get the VT1. Now, the difference between the two is the VT1 is slightly lighter than the Roland 3 and slightly faster. And slightly less TNT, and by slightly we mean small amounts, not really noticeable. But it is quite a lot faster. 350 meters per second faster. It goes 1250 meters per second. But again, it's essentially the same fuse sensitivity, same arming distance, same trigger radius. So same armor pen. Well, actually no, it's got 5 mil more armor pen. That was my bad. But still, it's not worth it, in my opinion.
See, I'm going to get this for one reason and one reason only. So I can announce, well, boys, we got ourselves a convoy. And then I can play Smokey and the Bandit.
I thought you were going to say so you can play Truck Simulator in War Thunder. I was going to say just get the flak bus.
Well, I've got that too, but this thing is just 110%, semi truck right here. More seriously, that is the reason I'm going to get it. But I expect that that is mostly going to be used to cap points because it is fairly decent moving speed wise once you get it onto a road. Now, I'll make the same contention that I think they should have done for the Japanese technical, and that is that they should have issued an M4 rifle to the person in the passenger seat. And that would be your weapon for shooting at marking other tanks or, whatever, At least you could pretend to do something.
Just give them a bag of rocks.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm seeing ka-thung! That's where he is, boys. Shoot at him. All right, so that's everything about the flak rad. Let's move on before we start laughing too hard. Okay, aviation.
Nothing new. Oh wait, no, we do.
BF 110 G4.
Yep, and a premium P47.
Right, which is just to replace the old P47 Thunderbolt.
Yep.
So it's a Razorback P47, same type of thing that you have in the American Tree.
Yep.
So
same as the British premium one.
The only question, it doesn't even have bombs or anything. So there you go, and it's replacing the old premium. Just so everybody can know, the previous premium is still staying in your tech tree if you have it. This will just be a new one that you can buy as a new premium vehicle. And to be honest, they tend to rock and roll because they've got the Germans on their side. Ta-da. Okay, BF 110 G4.
Yep, so it looks like it's... Well, to be honest, it looks like it's a night fighter. It is a night fighter, essentially. But... Oh, yes. Okay, I'm actually going to like this thing. I've just noticed now that it's got the... And I'm going to butcher this word, and I'm so sorry for the people that actually care about this, but it's got the Shrug music, however you say that.
Shrug music.
Yeah, that Shrug music. Anyways, basically, that is actually really fun. I love flying aircraft with that because so many people have forgotten about those aircraft. That they've got the ability to fly underneath you and shoot up. So many times have I had it where I've been flying along. I've had a friendly who's been flying above me and slightly in front of someone's jumped on his tail. So whilst they're dogfighting above me, in front of me, I'm there trying to line up my vertical firing guns to try and have a pop at that. And it's so good against bombers as well.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, I'll tell you honestly, the only thing I've ever successfully used the Shreg music for is rolling the plane over and strafing targets on the ground with the Shreg music.
I knew you was.
Because I ran out of main gun ammo.
So, looking at the armament, it looks like it's going to be the same as your generic 110.
Hi, Adrianic. Welcome aboard.
And a 250 or 2500, or you can have the option of the 4 Waffen, whatever they're called, rockets. The big rockets.
Okay, let me go see what it's called so I can know what it is.
Yeah.
The Waffe Granata, I believe it is correctly pronounced, yes. But I'm not sure.
I got the first part right. Anyways, so you do have 2 30mm, but they're only Mark 108, so you're not really going to be any good at strafing ground targets with those. But you do get 4 20mm MG151s, and that is no matter what loadout you go with. You can have up to 6 if you wanted. 2 in your nose, 2 pointing vertically, and then you've got your 2 Mark 108s in your nose, and then you've got a twin 30 cal on your rear. But you can have gun pods with 2. Because if you look in the offensive armament, your standard loadout is 2 Mark 108 30mm, 2 20mm MG151s, and then your twin 30 cal turret. But if you go into your modifications, there is not a single modification. You cannot basically choose bombs or rockets without also choosing cannons. And in some areas, you can get, instead of having just 2 cannons, 20 mil cannons coming along with you, you can have 4 instead. So you're basically carrying a lot of forward firing power.
Okay, I'm game with that. It says there's 4 20mm MG151s. I only see 2 underneath the pilot.
The other 2 is the sat next to the rear gunner, either side of him, pointing upwards.
They're the Schrag Musics.
Yes.
Okay, and the 30mm are where?
The 30 mils are in the nose.
Okay.
So you've got
oh, there they are. Okay,
yep.
I found them.
So basically, you can, in the modifications, there's an option to, instead of having 4 20 mils, you can have 6 20 mils. I don't know whether the additional 2 20 mils would be underslung under the wing, or whether there would be an additional weapons package in the nose.
Right.
My guess would be under the wing in gun pods.
Well, they do have gun pods on this thing, and a lot of them, actually.
Yep.
All right, anything else about this one?
Other than the fact that the engines are currently reminding me of how the F-190 Charlie, the event 190 with the supercharger in.
Okay.
That's what the engines are making me think of at the moment. Whether they are supercharged, I do not know.
I'd have to look it up at this point.
Actually, you know what? I think what the actual exhausts are there for is to hide the exhaust flash, because this was a
suppress the flash.
Suppress the flash, yeah. Because that was a common thing back in the day, and that would actually allow other pilots to see where you are. And this was to go up there, find bombers at night, surprise them, and shoot them down. And they were very successful at it. So,
okay, I'm just going to point this out, but apparently paper blowing around the airfield is a big thing, because I can see on my screen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just kind of blowing around.
Yep.
Whatever. I mean, I love the change to the hangars. It's just entertaining. Okay.
Have you noticed that the premium vehicle that sits on your runway when you're in the actual hangar, you can click on it, but you can't click on the other vehicles?
Yes, I have noticed that.
Bit pushy in my opinion, but hey ho.
You know what? It's creative. I mean, it's interesting, and you don't have to click on it. Yeah, just because.
So, on to the Blue Water Fleet.
Right, let's get into the water.
So, we have... I'll let you pronounce these.
I'm not even going to bother on most of these. On the Blue Water Fleet, we have a new premium, the Type 1924 Iltis, and the SMS Westphalen, and the SMS Helgoland.
There you go, that's why I let you pronounce them. So, both battleships.
Right.
Which means that the Germans are going to have more options to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, as the Americans would just keep on coming out in the North Dakota with backups, they will have 2 different. Now, looking at them as well, I feel like they've got a bit of a different role between them. So the Westphalen is not as heavily, well, it's slightly better armored in some places, but the Helgoland definitely has more armor in the majority of areas. The Helgoland also has bigger guns.
Yeah, and let me see. Yeah, they do have bigger guns, but not as many of them in total.
More secondaries, but I feel like the Westphalen has a lot more, just a lot more. I mean, if you look at the actual numbers, yes,
Yeah.
the Helgoland pulls ahead with the actual number and the size of it, or the size of guns and how many of the big guns it gets, but the Helgoland's got more versatility to it. It's got 430 cals, which aren't really going to do a lot against aircraft, but you can potentially scare people off. Or you can get lucky, especially with the AI shooting. But then you've got, and this is the actual interesting thing I find,
Good
the
evening, Penthea Sergio.
Helgoland, not the Helgoland, sorry, the Westfalen has more. It's got 488 mils sat directly on the stern. So whereas normally most ships, on most battleships, you'd be able to get, if you're directly behind, you'll be able to kind of hide from most of the fire of the ship, especially with the fact that the big guns, if you're a small little torpedo boat, for example, the big guns will mainly just be shooting directly over you if you're close enough. These won't let you do that. They'll be basically shooting straight from the ass.
Right, they've
So
got
it's
the protection off the rear.
Yes, it's a bit more protection. As general, the Westfalen has good armor protection. It's kind of more of a turtleback kind of approach where it's heavy in specific areas, getting weaker towards the ends of the boat, rather than the all or nothing approach. But it's still pretty significant armor, and looking at where the actual internals are placed, it's all very, very compact around the citadel, around the center of the ship. There's not really anything to hit at the front, and there's virtually nothing to hit at the front, and the only thing to hit the back would be the rudder or the steering gear and the screws. So very, very compact. It's gonna have, I reckon that's gonna be quite good on survivability, as long as you can kind of dodge the plunging fire mainly. So maybe get up close. I'd actually suggest trying to get a bit up close to make it so plunging fire isn't such a threat, because that's where you're weakest.
True enough, true enough.
Okay.
The Helgoland, again, very compact with the actual internals. The Helgoland also has torpedo tubes. I believe it's got 4 of them. 2 on port, 2 on side, 1 either side of the front, 1 either side of the back. Oh,
I'm seeing one fore, one bow, one aft, and only one each port and starboard. Unless there's, are those torpedo tubes? Yes. Okay, there it is. Yep, 6 total.
6. I'm not seeing the. Oh, yep, I see it now. Between the steering gear. Yep. So obviously, much bigger guns, which means much heavier hitting power. And 296 mil at 10,000 meters.
It's pretty effective.
That's going to go through most battleship armor. Like, unless it hits on a dodgy angle or it goes through multiple layers of the armor, you're penning with plunging fire easily with that. And you're getting up closer, you'll be able to go through the side of ships. You've also got a HE shell, which you can use as well.
Right. Compare it to the North Dakota. Is it better protected or less protected than the North Dakota?
Ooh, I would have to say it's probably better protected than the North Dakota, just because of the internal layout plus where the armor is covered, where the armor's covering.
Okay, and now you know why the Helgoland is the top one, huh?
Yep. Plus, you're gonna have 6 guns, minimum of 6 guns firing all the time at a target, just because of the
right.
layout. 3 turrets facing front, 3 turrets facing back, or 4 turrets to either side. Which, to be honest, I actually prefer that arrangement compared to the minimum 2 guns front, 2 or 3 guns back, depending on which battleships you're looking at, and then all guns side, because that way you've just got more firepower going down consistently, and it also means that you can charge at an enemy or retreat from an enemy, making yourself a narrower target without severely reducing your returning fire.
Advantages and disadvantages, just like everything else.
Oh yeah, weaker broadside, but I reckon that personally, I think that's going to have better survivability than the North Dakota. Armor isn't everything; it's also about structural layout.
Absolutely. Now, except for the fleet arrangement changes, the coastal fleet hasn't changed here. I mean, except for the research arrangements.
I did a quick look. None of the coastal fleets have changed, other than the research arrangement.
Okay, and I think that's everything for Germany.
Yep. So on to the Russians, who are...
The Russians are coming.
Yep. Now the Russians.
All right, so they're getting some more stuff on top of it. We got the T-72AB Terms T. Best thermals in the game. And it looks like they're putting it at 9.7, which... okay. I mean, I would expect it to be at least 10-0. But,
well, I'm just giving it a test drive now. And the zoom, the magnification is amazing. Like, just hands down, the level you can zoom. I mean, rangefinder still leaves a bit to be desired, but that's probably because it's not giving me, I don't have all the, because I don't have it, it's not letting me use the thermal, it's not letting me use the upgraded rangefinder, but decent acceleration.
stock shell's good, too.
Stock shell is good, yeah. Well, it's a heat FS.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, they're not stock shells because, it's a premium.
The gun is a bit slow to elevate and depress.
Yeah, it's doggy in that regard.
Yeah. Turret rotation is average to poor for its battle rating, for what you're going to be running around against, and what I mean, 9.7. What's 9.7 that you're going to be facing against? Challenger, Abrams.
Yeah.
Which one of the Leopard?
I'd have to look now.
I mean, the hull. So it's making no sense. So the hull is... The hull's got a very good traverse time, especially on the spot.
Yeah, I'm liking the maneuverability, but the biggest downside is going to be the turret traverse and the elevation speed.
Reverse speed.
That's a Russian thing, though. I mean, really, if you haven't figured out how to deal with the reverse speed when you're playing Russians up to this BR, you got bigger problems.
Yes, I do agree with that, but even this is ridiculously slow for it. 4 kilometers an hour in reverse.
Same as pretty much everything else Russian.
I mean, yes, with regards to like T-62, but I mean, hell, the heavier tanks, the heavy tanks I know have decent reverse speed.
Okay, what about MBTs?
What that is going to be facing?
Yeah, I mean all the MBTs, the other MBTs in the Russian line, they're all about 4 kilometers per.
I don't know if they're all 4 kilometers. I know they're all slow, but I don't know. I just feel like this seems to be on the slower side of slow.
It's about what I expect from a Russian tank.
So, hang on, return to hangar. So I do have one question, because so far we know that the giant, like, things sticking up out of the turret of the Leopard 2A5 and the Leopard 2A6 is the optics. just noticed something similar on the T-72 AV, and I'm just wondering, is that the optics as well? Yes, it is. Okay. So, I mean, we've already kind of seen this in the dev blog. Ammo-wise, there's a lot of ammo around the base of that turret. Like,
Yeah, the turret ejection system is well intact.
decent shells. You've got a 440mm Sabo shell being your best one. And then you've got 440. Okay, so you've got 440mm Sabo at 10 meters. That goes down to 410mm at 1000 meters, or you've got a 440mm Heat FS. So, and yeah, because it's a premium, you're going to get access to all of them anyways. Your default is normally going to be the Heat FS, but because it's premium, you'll instantly unlock the Saber. So,
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know.
I mean, looks like it's pretty typical for the BR range. I think its big selling point is
Russian.
the thermals.
It's basically the same as the T. It's basically the T55 AM equivalent of the T55A. It's the T72 AV of the T72A. It's basically just going to be annoying. That's the only way I can put it.
Okay, so I think that pretty much sums up the T72 AB terms. Let's go get the T90A. Let's look at the T90A now.
Yep, I am currently on that.
So the initial thoughts beyond the Dazzlers? IBMP.
So initial thoughts beyond the Dazzlers. Okay, so first off, it does look mean. Just
looks like a nasty piece of work.
Yes. Secondly, that composite armor on the turret. And then the fact that you've got error on top of that. I reckon this is going to be a tough nut to crack. I mean, even with Germany's new Leopard 2A6 and its best shell, the DM53. So yeah, so I'm just checking on the armor protection analysis. The DM, so you can common weakness of the a lot of the Russian tanks at high tier. A lot of tanks at high tier for that matter. At the base of the gun, you can easily go through there, take out the cannon breech straight away. But the rest of the front of the turret is very, very. It's going to be difficult for you to get through the turret.
If you're looking straight at the gun and you look just to the right there, you'll see there's a little spot underneath the ERA that you can put a shot through, take out the gunner and the horizontal turret drive and the cannon breech. But that's going to be a hard shot to do against a maneuvering opponent.
Yes. That, and if you're actually looking at the turret from the side, it gets easier, but if you're looking at it, it's going to be one of those funny ones. It's going to be one of those where you shoot and it's a 50-50 chance, especially if they're on the move, just because there's so much error, there's so many little bits and pieces on the front of the turret that it's hard to kind of make out any defining feature of where to shoot, except for if the turret is looking straight on at you. I think, to be honest, I'm just going to go with the safe bet, shoot it down the barrel.
Pretty much disable the gun, then flank and spank.
But as with all other tanks, the hull is the weak area.
Pretty much.
You're going to be able to go through the hull, so if you get a hull shot, take the hull shot. Otherwise, knock out that barrel.
Yep.
That's going to be my trick for it, at least. Turret rotation is not bad, 22.8 degrees per second stock. Vertical guidance, sucky, as expected for
Yeah.
a Russian tank. To be honest, mobility probably going to be decent to good. Probably it won't beat any leopards to the middle of the map, but it'll certainly give it a try.
It'll be there in time to catch them as they're trying to get in position.
Yeah.
And that's what really matters. If you can catch them with their pants down, you got them.
Yep.
Okay, that's the T-90A. Let's see. Airplanes. MiG-21 BIS.
So the MiG-21 BIS is essentially just the MiG-21 SMT, but with a lot more ordnance loadout. Like a lot.
Oh my heavens, yes, a lot.
So the other thing as well is there is a new rocket, a new air-to-air missile, the R3R. Now it was shown on or they did talk about it when they did the dev stream a while ago. Main thing about this one, 9-kilometer launch range.
Nobody's going to actually be engaging targets at those ranges. Number one, the maps are barely bigger. It feels like sometimes.
Yeah,
but more to the point, anybody who's high enough for you to see them that far away is already chum anyway. They're dead. So they're going to be on the ground. They're going to be trying to avoid being in a position where they can be tagged with a radar. And there you go. Oh, stop yawning, man.
Dude, it's like 10 to 2 in the morning.
I know. I'm trying to get through this pretty quick here. So
Don't worry about it. But other than that, it's a MiG-21. It's a MiG-21 SMT. It's.
If you like your MiG-21, you can keep your MiG-21 with more ordnance and missiles.
Yeah. But the real interesting one here is the Yak-38M.
Yeah, somebody was flying this one on the dev server before I got things fired up, and I asked him how it was, and he said it was, quote, funny.
It's essentially, if you look at it, it's almost essentially a shooting star.
Yeah, it's an F-104 looking thing, you know.
Yeah. But my main interest, because, I mean, it's, so you can get an inbuilt cannon modification for it. Where it actually has a cannon built in, but for stock you have 2 gun pods and that is it. But my main interest is the KH-23M.
My main interest is that I didn't realize it was a vertical takeoff.
Yep. It's I think it did go into production and went into service, but it was like a very limited service, literally only a couple of years, I believe. I'm actually going to Google this because I remember reading up on it, but I can't remember.
No WEP, though. And the Russian aircraft carrier does not have a cat on it. No steam cat or anything like that.
Nope. Right, so... Pretty fast. Pretty responsive. That was a pretty fast takeoff.
Yeah, I found it actually much easier to get off the ground than the Harrier, by far.
Well, what do you expect? Gaijin doesn't like the Brits.
They don't like the Americans either by that same, same
Engines
standard.
overheating like hell.
Not as bad as the Harrier at 100%, though.
So I feel like two of the engines are just. Oh, okay. So you've got two engines mounted vertically. Those are the ones that like go really cold because they're not being used. And then engine one is the one that splits between the two exhausts at the back.
Are you looking at the M model? Is that what you're looking at? Or
Yeah, I'm on the premium.
Yeah, I'm looking at the premium too. I don't see multiple engines in here though.
Sat behind the cockpit. Look at its front side.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And then you've got the one big engine that's got the two exhausts at the back. So, handling wise, it feels like a shooting star. Fast roll rate, but turning is meh, and it's a bit squirrely.
The radar is kind of interesting. Looks like a surface contact radar because it keeps highlighting the ships.
Yeah, that's basically highlighting what's locking onto, what's pinging you, basically what's locking onto you. Don't like the wing-mounted gun pods. They're very, like they're spaced very far apart. You do get a generous amount of ammo. I say generous because it is generous for Russians. Like the normal amount of ammo they get is very, very little.
Yeah, that's true. Ow! I just slammed it in the deck. But I'm intact. So, there is that. Handling wise, it's not bad. But you're right, it does handle kind of in the same vein as the F-104. The takeoff off the carrier was very positive, very robust, and very responsive. But once you're into forward flight, it loses all responsiveness that way, except for the roll.
Landing feels like it's going to be easier and harder in different aspects. Easier in actually slowing down because this does not have the acceleration rate of, like, it's got a better acceleration for the vertical thrust because you got an extra two engines giving you the lift. But acceleration at oh shit, landing gear. See, it's easier to it's a lot easier to land vertically because you've got that extra two engines, which means you can get that thrust better. Which means if you are coming down hard, you've got a better chance of recovering it before you smack into the ground.
That's true.
With regards to trying and dumping speed, is again good because you don't have that power of the Pegasus, you don't have that thrust, you don't have all that momentum, so you can burn a lot of speed a lot easier. Downside is actually just trying to maneuver. You're gonna have to line your run up for the wherever you're gonna. If you're gonna VTOL land, you're gonna have to line your run up for wherever you're landing, and start trying to bleed speed a lot sooner. Not bleed speed, sorry, you gotta try and line up a lot sooner. Like you can bleed the speed, but you just because you can't turn it at low speeds, and it's an F104 essentially, and the VTOL does help a little bit, but not to the point where it's going to make your life easier. To be honest, it will make your life a bit trickier using the VTOL to try and maneuver. Because again, same thing that happened with that Harrier. You tilt too far one way and it tries to flip the other. But it is an interesting plane. I can't remember what battle rating they put it at.
Backing out now to take a look.
It is 9.7.
Ah, fancy
So it does the
schmancy.
same, which I feel like it's a bit slow for a 9.7.
You know, I was thinking that myself. I'm thinking it's going to maybe drop to 9.3.
Possibly on 9.0 even.
And that's kind of the summary of the air in Russia. Let's see, they have a new cockpit on the Ka-50, which I'm not going to bother getting into. It was shown on the stream. Fleet. Their new low-tier premium is the Kirch, which I'm sure I'm butchering that pronunciation. Could be Kirch.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
gave up at German. You don't even think I'll try Russian.
Okay, so let's go on a little bit farther down. We got the Zaleznikov. There we go. Zaleznikov.
You got it.
I practiced that earlier today when I saw it on the list, and it was like, oh, that's how you pronounce it. And the problem is getting my tongue to use those letters again. Let me see. Preview that thing.
I'll take this one. You've got the Poltava. There you go. That's my contribution. I'll leave you the last one.
That would be the Imperatrice Maria.
So, looking at the two battleships, you do have, your main armament is essentially the same, but your secondary is different, and it's a big different. So the Poltava's got 16 120mm cannons for your secondaries, but the Maria has 20 130mm.
That is a lot of 130 mils.
Exactly, and it's a bigger caliber than the Poltavas. And looking at where they're spread, they are literally, funnily enough, you've got some that are quite close to the front, close to the stern of the ship again. Not like it's not directly on the stern of the ship, like with the German ship, which I've already forgot the name of. Westfalen. I said Westfalen, remembered. But it's definitely coming close to the point where all they will need to do to get to be able to shoot you, if you're a little PT boat trying to hide in that area, is just waggle left and right a bit, and those guns will be able to shoot you. As for placement of guns, I don't like this one, and I think you'll probably be the same, because you've got only one turret being able to fire forwards, one turret being able to fire at the back, and you do have a very nice 12-gun broadside.
However, I do agree with you. That's all your eggs in one turret basket, fore and aft. They take out that turret, and you're down to your inky dinky pop guns if you're up against a fleet grade target.
Yep, and the two turrets in the middle have limited firing angles.
Yeah. You get on their broadside, that thing's going to be devastating. But until then, you're really got a minimal amount of trouble to deal with. Now, it all depends on how effective those 130 millimeters are, but I'm thinking that against fleet-grade targets, they're not going to be that effective, especially when you look at the positioning. Only the first four on the bow can actually fire straight forward. They maybe the first six.
I don't actually think the first four. I think only the first two, because if you look at the second pair, they are slightly angled outwards.
You're right. I was trying to get a good view of it, and I'm not having much luck. Yeah, I am too. But yeah, I thought they might be able to fire straight ahead at a target. The next ones back, I think, are definitely not, and certainly by the time you get to the four towards the amidships, there, they've got the gun in front of them in the way. So Not only do they have limited main battery fore and aft, but they also have limited secondary battery fore and aft.
Yeah.
In for much the same thing.
Against a heavy cruiser, or maybe even against a cruiser at range, your tertiaries aren't your 130 mils aren't going to do anything. Against a cruiser, well, you'd have to be point blank range to get through a cruiser. Against a heavy cruiser, you're going to be literally denting and maybe getting through the nose and the bow where the armor's weakest. But
you're basically going to be ringing the ship's bell, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Anything smaller, and yeah, you'll be going through fine. So you're mainly relying on those 12-inch guns, which they do have a very nice 520 mil shell, which at 10,000 meters range is 341 mil of pen, which is the highest. I'm pretty sure that's the highest we've seen so far, because I think the Germans went up to 290. So they're definitely going to hurt, but again, with the placement, it's going to be a bit. Now, with regards to armor, you've got, to be honest, your armor's.
It feels spread out, is the thing. It doesn't seem to be focused on anywhere.
It's more. This is more akin to the all or nothing approach, rather than having overlapping thicknesses of armor up and down. So thicker armor protecting the more critical structures, thinner armor protecting the rest. This has the same thickness stretching most of the hull, with only a small weaker bits at the bow and the stern. So this is more akin to the all or nothing armor. Now, it's good, but it does mean that your armor is generally weaker on the critical areas than the other battleships that do have that kind of total shell armor. And looking at the kind of spread of the internal compartments, you've got a lot of ammo to that back of the ship, and you've got a lot of ammo in the bow of the ship. Not exactly right in the front, and it's still within the thicker armor, but you do have.
That'd make it vulnerable at the front and the bow and stern.
Yep, and you do have no armor belt under the waterline.
And I just checked. Its speed, as it is right now, is 17.8 knots, or 33 kilometers per hour. That makes it probably one of the slowest battleships out there.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, those guns are really going to hit, but I think this is going to be a long-range brawler. Because you don't have the speed. Well, first off, you don't have the speed to close a gap with someone, but secondly, you don't have the speed to actually run away if you need to run away. You don't have the maneuverability to dodge incoming barrages, and you don't have the turret placement to allow you to run away or charge in if you want to. You've got to keep them off to your left or your right to maximize your firepower and to just improve your chances of sinking them before they sink you.
Yeah, and I think that this is going to be one where if I have to face this ship, I'm going to try and get him to chase me, and then I'm going to use my greater, fore or aft firepower to take him out.
Yep.
I just think that's how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah,
or cross the T.
I think one of the worst things I could think that could happen with that ship is if either A, all the engines get taken out, or B, the rudder gets jammed in the straight position, and then you're sailing in one direction, or you're stopped and you're just unable to turn. If you can't turn, you can't bring your guns to bear for the maximum firepower, and you're left with 3 guns. So now,
yeah, I fully agree.
Looking at the Poltava, it's pretty much the same. This does have, it's got more armor. I will say that it's got more armor on the deck and the top part,
and slightly more speed.
Only a little, not so much.
I didn't say that.
Same turret arrangement. and you've got less protection with your secondaries on the bow and the stern. I mean, the stern's actually quite good in the fact that the stern's able to shoot in on itself compared to the other one.
Agreed.
So that can target, but your bow, you've only got 4, and even then, none of those look like they're able to actually shoot straight ahead.
I think the 2 at the very front can shoot straight ahead, and possibly the next one's back. But if something ends up close range, right off its nose, they won't be able to engage it. None of them will. Torpedo boat, I mean, right off its nose.
Looking, if you look where your main turret, your 4 turret is, turret A, where that's pointing, none of those secondary guns, the 120s, are actually looking in the same direction. And if you actually look at how close that tertiary gun's barrel is to touch the hull, I don't think they can turn any more than what they are looking at now. I think that's the maximum. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'd be willing to put money on that's the maximum where they can turn, which means that they cannot fire directly forwards.
Possible. Yeah, they are angled slightly outward.
I mean, armor on the turret is good, especially on the roof. Because I know the North Carolina only had 90 mil on the roof of the turret. Or at least I remember. I think it did. It might have been the New Orleans I was looking at with 90 mil on the roof of the turret. But anyways, 152 mil on turret, good roof armor, and 203 mil on the actual turret. So it's good armor all around. Still not going to take a direct hit from a battleship's main gun, but it will be able to withstand cruisers, especially at long range. Again, you've got good armor all up and down the ship. Protection-wise, again, with a lot of ammo being stored in that stern, right next to fuel tanks as well. But still within that main 225 mil armor thickness. So I think, again, this is going to be another one where you're going to be sitting back and using those powerful 130s.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of agree on that. It looks like it's going to be an issue fore and aft. Okay, that's Russian fleet. Let's move on to... well, that's all the fleet there. That'll make it Brits. Let's see, do they have the VFM-5, as I recall?
Yep, the most disappointing light tank. And I can actually test drive this one as well.
Why is it disappointing?
Well, first off, of all the light tanks that they could have given us that we actually used in service, they gave us an experimental one that never went into production.
Which even funnier is it's shaped like a Stuart.
I was going to say, secondly, that big fat ass.
I am now going to call this the high tier Stuart.
I seriously thought we'd left the days behind where we could not fire direct backwards on the 0 degree plane because our engine was in the way. I thought we'd left those days behind.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one. This one's the one where the turret ring is actually tilted slightly so that they were able to mount it lower down and keep the profile lower. Yep. Isn't this also airliftable? I think it's got the equipment for it.
Yes. Well, at 19.8 tons, yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So,
is there anything good about it?
It's got 105 mil British cannon, which means it's accurate, decent shells. At 9.3, your best shell is going to be a 400 mil Heat FS. Your second best shell is a 353 mil APFS DS. Yes, it is kind of small, but it's not small. It's still quite a big chunky tank. That engine's going to get you killed because if you get
anybody behind you
from behind,
oh yeah,
if you can't turn and someone's behind you, you're screwed. Armor-wise, you got no protection.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
noticed that too.
Yep. So
Light machine gun fire only, basically.
50 cals. You can withstand 50 cals on the side, but 50 cal from directly behind is going to kill you.
Oh yeah.
It's got no magnification.
Oh no, that sucks.
On its scope, you cannot zoom in. It's like even the M18's got more magnification than
I was going to say the M18 did, huh? It could be that they just that it's a bug. I mean, it is the dev server after all.
Maybe, but at least the M18 actually, you right click and it actually does something. This doesn't do anything. So either they haven't actually added the magnification yet, or
On the M18 it twitches slightly, and that's about it. But yeah, I get you. I understand. Anything else?
acceleration. So acceleration is faster than the T72 that we just tried out, but it doesn't feel fast for a light tank that is at, what is it, 9.3?
Yep.
Yeah, compared to what you're facing, yes, compare it to the TAM. The TAM is also another tracked vehicle, and it will beat you everywhere, like to places wherever you're going to drive. It will get there before you. This thing is quicker than most medium tanks, especially if they're Russian, but it's not going to win any races in the light tank race.
Agreed.
Armor-wise, I don't think, even though that hull is really sloped, I don't think it's going to save you. Because it looks like it's just going to cause the shell to ricochet straight into the turret.
Which also has no armor.
You've got
exactly.
one crew sat center in the hull, and then you got two on the right side of the turret and one at the back on the left. So,
on the plus side, it does have 4
crew
members.
It's a roof mount 50 cal, which is rare for the British.
Also true.
So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to personally enjoy this one.
All right, moving on to the air tree, the Harriers. Do you have anything that you didn't mention during the AV-8C that you want to deal with?
That they were originally Harriers and they've just made them because we make awesome stuff and we're the best.
I knew that was coming. I just did. I was just waiting for it to come through. Okay, great. Air carriers are good.
So again, the GR1, the GR3 is basically just got a more powerful engine. Other than that, it's exactly the same as the premium one. If you already have access to be able to research the GR3, don't bother with the GR1 because you're just paying money for a less powerful variant at the same BR when you can just grind out the normal tech tree variant and have a more powerful one at the same BR. That's all it is. Curiously, the Harrier doesn't have the SRAMs.
Notice that. Did they come with it? Were they used by the Harriers?
I think they were like a loadout option at the very start, but they got replaced shortly afterwards by the M9Gs and other air-to-air missiles that it could carry, and air-to-ground missiles and bombs as well. But ultimately, it was the SRAMs were originally what it was supposed to be using because we were still in development of our own an improved air-to-air missile. So I don't know if they ever used them operationally though. So that might have been the reason for Gaijin leaving them out.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. All right, let's move on to the Blue Water Fleet. See, they have on the low end the Montgomery G95 as a destroyer, premium, at 3.3. The J-class flotilla leader is being added. It's a HMS Jervis. And then, of course, we go to the big guys. We'll start with the Colossus.
So the Colossus is basically got the same guns as the Dreadnought, 305mm, although they are called the 12-inch/50 Mark 11 compared to the Dreadnought's 305 Mark 10s. You've got 13, I believe that is 102mm, 100mm cannons. You get 13 of them, and then you get a 76 mil cannon for anti-air protection. So basically, find a destroyer nearby and give them a hug.
That 76 mil is going to be a lot of fun.
Now, this is one of the weirder battleships. Well, it's not a battleship. This is a dreadnought because this was pre-battleship. In the fact that instead of having your normal hexagonal, or your normal hexagonal turret placement, you've got one turret on the left that faces forward and can face backward, and then you've got one turret on the right that can face forward and can face backward. So instead of having, at any point you have 4 turrets facing right, you've got 4 turrets facing left, you've got 4 turrets facing back, 4 turrets facing front at any, or 3 turrets facing front, sorry, because you've got 2 on the back.
Check me on this. It looks like they've designed it so they could do cross-deck fire on those 2 amidships turrets. Could they, in fact, do the entire broadside, a direct broadside, straight 90 degrees off the side of the ship? All turrets?
They could, but it wasn't something they usually did, because obviously you've got the various, you've got the lifeboats, for example, or
yes,
they didn't call them lifeboats at that point, but you got the boats, the ships hanging above, but it was that little part of the deck there was usually for storage, on deck storage, if there was carrying something that couldn't fit below decks or stuff like that. So it kind of depended on what it was doing at the time. If it was outfitted for purely combat, then yes. But if it was like part of a convoy, it might hold various things on deck, which would block that front left turret being able to actually rotate.
So it's a possible, but only in certain
it kind of varies,
certain unique circumstances.
Now, whether they've actually done that in game, I don't know. If they have, then that's brilliant, because that means you've got all turrets firing broadside, so 5 in total, which means you've got 10 guns, which puts you on par with a lot of the other battleships like the Russians and the American. But you do still have one of the strongest rear firing and forward firing battery complements, because you're going to have 4 guns firing rearwards, or 4 turrets firing rearwards, or 3 turrets firing forwards.
I want to make so many comments about that. Is that saying they're going to be running away from a lot of fights?
No, that's strategic maneuvering.
Oh, gee. Okay.
Well,
no, I'm just teasing, man. I'm just teasing.
I know, but basically, so the design, part of the design behind this was that back in the periods of the pre-dreadnoughts and the dreadnoughts were designed, the standard fleet battle was where one side would try and cross the T of the other, which usually meant that there was a lot of maneuvering at sea before the engagement, and there'd be occasional scuffles between I can't remember the exact term they used for the front runners, the kind of scout ships.
Frigates.
No, not what they were, but they were called like certain sections. Like,
I see what you're saying.
We called each group a certain section of the fleet. So anyways, basically like the front runners, the scouts, kind of the front of the section of the fleet, would often get into scuffles with the enemy fleet when everyone was trying to maneuver to cross the enemy T of their convoy. And so with regards to that, it often meant that at any point you could be engaged from front or behind just because of your maneuvering, which meant that you were kind of weaker than doing a broadside, which meant that you'd either have to turn and move out of formation and keep going the direction you're heading to try and maneuver the fleet as a whole into position to get a better kind of position to get everyone to the broadside and get everyone to pour as much weight as they could on the enemy. So for that reason, or not for that reason, but that was kind of one of the leading what they call it, leading kind of effects on why they chose that sort of design. You still get to maximize your firepower, but you're also increasing the amount that you can fire forwards or backwards depending on your maneuvering and when the enemy decides to pop up.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely 100%. Of course, like you said, that was from classic, from Age of Sail battle line tactics. Yes. So, yeah, absolutely. And as I recall, the last time there was a crossing the T of that type was during World War II again. American fleet versus Japanese fleet. And it was...
Solomon Islands, I think.
Probably.
The little channel thing that went between the two islands.
I believe so. I'd have to look it up now.
Yeah. I remember reading about it. Japanese cruisers going down the gap in the middle. The Americans had basically their cruisers and battleships and everything kind of lined up in a kind of written part, a kind of cornered line around the entrance, just waiting for the Japanese, and there was PT boats and the trench that was hitting them at night, sort of thing.
Yes, that's the one. All right, so that's the Colossus. Let's look at the other one here, the Dreadnought.
The first of the battleships.
Indeed, the Dreadnought was not just the lead of its class, but it was also the lead of an entire arms race of vehicles. Go ahead, tell me about it.
So, as you can see, you've got a lot of firepower on this one. Again, they got away with the Colossus super firing rear turret, which did make a return in future designs on practically every nation's ships. But you've got a lot of forward firing power there. 3 turrets all being able to fire forward.
Absolutely. This is the first time I've noticed this, but that second turret from rear, I guess that'd be the Y turret. It is not able to fire straight aft. It's blocked by that superstructure right there.
Yep. Which, again, if they had put that in super fire position, then it would have been A, really, really powerful, B, super nasty, because those 2 side turrets can still shoot directly aft. Now, on the Colossus, the front left turret could not shoot directly aft. It could shoot backwards and off to the left. The right turret on the right that was slightly back behind could not shoot directly forward. It could shoot forward and slightly to the right.
Just too close to the bulkhead by that point, yeah.
Just too close to the bulkhead, yeah. But in this situation, you can see that they can shoot directly forward. They can shoot directly back. So you've got those 2 turrets being able to shoot everywhere except for the opposite side from which they are placed, because the superstructure's in the way. Which means you do have 3 turrets firing backwards, 3 turrets firing forwards at all times.
Yes, and it's a good design. The only downside that I can even see is that they only have 2 guns in each turret instead of 3. So that'd be awesome if they had 3 guns in those turrets. But still just amazing.
Weight.
Yes, exactly.
Now, looking at the armor. Well, first off, let's look at the X-ray. So we are a bit of a mess at the back. In the bow, lot of ammunition under that Y turret. And under A turret, again, lots of ammunition. But you do have a good armor belt of 279mm, which is comparable to the other ships. The bow's got 152, which is nice and strong. The stern is quite weak, if we're being honest, with only 101 on the sides. Now, top armor, you've got 19 mil on the top. You've then got nothing underneath that. So, yeah, you're gonna kind of get a bit susceptible to plunging fire. The other ships do have a bit more with regards to deck armor than the Dreadnought.
Well, let's cut to the chase. The real only disadvantage to the Dreadnought is that it was first, so it didn't get to take advantage of all the other advancements that the other ships were able to take advantage of. So, this will be a classic bit of naval history right here.
Oh yeah, but one thing that I will say that the other ships don't actually take into consideration is if you look at the Dreadnought, it's got armored bulkheads, I'll say, on the internals. So if you look down,
yeah, I saw them. There was like just like a bunch of miscellaneous, just kind of sheets of armor, just kind of strung throughout.
Here, 100 mil there, 25 mil here, 25 mil there, just a bit more protection from internal. I mean, for example, if you look at the front turret on X-ray mode, you can see that obviously the ammunition is at the bottom of the elevator to the turret, and you've got the rooms, and you can even see the little ladder that the guy will walk up and down to try and to get to a different level.
Yes,
you've got armored walls there on that room. If you go back to the armor view, the little 50 mil armored wall you can see sticking down out of the bottom of the boat, that is the ammo room.
Right.
So that is something that it does have that so far we haven't seen on the other destroyers. Is you've got armored bulkheads for the ammo rooms, the ammo racks, all along the ship. All of the ammo racks have them. And it is armor for the ammo racks. It's not actually armor for like the fuel tanks or anything. Those areas are specifically for the ammo racks.
Should be an interesting one to see.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's everything for Brits. Let's go to Japan, and from here on out, we've got a lot shorter lists here, so we should be able to get through them pretty quick. Oh yeah, Japan. There it is. First one up is the Type 74F.
Yep. So the Type 74F is just like the Leopard A1. A1 is, well, the Leopard A1 A5. Is it the A1 A5 or is it just the 1A5? See, I forgot.
1A5, there's no A1. There's no A on the front.
Yeah, so the 1A5 is basically the Type 74 is like that. Just there to be a difference.
Yeah, because the Type 74 doesn't particularly have any particular armor. Not at this BR.
No. I mean, literally, shell-wise, exactly the same.
Maneuverability is kind of mediocre, just for the probably stock. I mean, maybe when it's spaded, it'll be better.
I'm actually trying to see the difference between the Type 74 and the Type 74F, and other than the fact that Type 74F actually has less shell options, I can't see the difference.
It's there to be a backup, really.
Probably. I mean, so the Leopard 1A5 was 9.0 compared to Leopard A1A1's 8.7. This is 8.7 compared to the Type 74's normals 8.7. You got the same shells. You actually lose the Hesh shell,
which, as far as I know, nobody actually uses.
I use it from time to time. It's useful when you can see like that little RU-251 poking the corner of his track around a corner, and you can just see a sliver of that hull attached to track. Slap a Hesh shell there, and it's gone.
True enough. It'll be a nice addition, just mainly to have something additional in that area.
So, air-wise, they do
The
have... Because I
F-
think that's it for the tanks.
It is. The F1.
So the F1, I actually had a look at this. It is essentially just the T2, but a ground pounding variant, sort of. So the T2, if you look at the modifications, it got it got AIM-9Es and AIM-9Bs, and it got various amount of bombs and rockets. The F1 basically just gets more options. Like it gets Zuni rocks and Mighty Mouses and...
What is special about this AIM-9P?
Well, it's got an 18-kilometer launch range, 5.4
Right.
kilometer, 2.5 max speed, and 20G overload, which is a lot better than the AIM-9E, which only has a 10G overload.
Yep. Okay, that's an interesting ad right there, at least.
Yep.
What it does not have, however, is any radar guidance. Looks like it's all IR.
No, it's... Yep. That, and you've got Zuni rockets, which is the main difference.
That'll be a nice ad.
I don't know. 8 Zuni rockets compared to 76 Hydras. That's if you take the AIM-9Ps as well. Or 16 Zuni rockets, sorry. Against 76 Hydras. Depends on how good you are with rockets.
Also true. But you know me, I usually go with bombs anyway.
True.
Alright, so that'll be an interesting and fun little addition. I'm not sure what else they can do for the Japanese air tree. Pretty sure that's going to fill it out, except for maybe lower tier stuff.
Yep.
Blue Water Fleet. They've added the Gaijin Satsuki, a destroyer. Down at 3.3 is their new premium down there. And they've added the IJN Ikoma, the battle cruiser.
I was going to say it's the first, and I believe only battle cruiser that's been introduced to the game.
Yeah, because everything else is either a heavy cruiser or a battleship.
Yep.
Or a dreadnought.
This literally, looking at it now, it literally makes me think of an ironclad. Like looking at the side with how those secondary guns are just sticking out from like armored peepholes almost. It literally makes me think of an ironclad.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it does have, again, a lot of guns on this. Not so much big ones, but just a lot of guns.
Yeah, it looks like its entire primary broadside's just 4 guns.
Yeah. Yeah, you got 4 305mm guns, which, again, battleship size. With battleship ammo, 486mm, armor pen at 1,000 meters, 274 at 10,000 meters. So not exactly the most powerful we've seen, but still nothing to shrug off. Plunging fire, that's going to hurt. Then you've got 12 152mm cannons. And then I believe 4.7 inch, that's 76mm, isn't it? 76, 77, somewhere around there?
I think it's, isn't 5 inch 77, 5 inch 76 mil? No, or is that 3 inches 76 mil?
Oh, 3 inches? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
3 inches
so
76 mil. So this would
100
be, yeah, 100 or so. I'd have to do the math.
Probably 100. Yeah, anyway, so you've got 12 4-inch guns. And looking at where the guns are actually spaced, you've got, they're quite dotted around the ship. You're very well protected. I'd say there's not actually an approach angle except for from the air that you're not going to be able to fire on someone.
119.38 millimeters, so basically 120 millimeters.
120, yeah. But yeah, so they're quite spaced around. Now, the brilliant thing I love about the X-ray already is the fact that they've modeled in the radio station and they've even put
Yes.
2 people in there. It's like
Isn't that awesome?
the only ship I've seen so far that's actually got the radio station modeled in.
One of the Americans one also had the radio station. I happened to just see it when we were looking.
Yeah, but this just looks big because it looks like an ironclad with a radio station and 2 little people in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at the Setsu.
Yeah, I mean the Akama is probably going to be good because of its small size, because it's not the full battleship size. It'll probably be good for sailing down between the narrow islands with all those guns. You're going to be able to put a lot of fire on the small ships straight off the bat. The problem being though is it's 5.7. The PT boats at the moment are only 3.7, so you're not likely to see them. Which means
At least not regularly. So you're going to be dealing with destroyers and cruisers with those. You know.
Yep. I mean, I didn't actually check the armor on that thing. Just going to quickly check the armor. So your armor is not exactly the best. I mean, you have this 178mm belt just below the waterline. Sorry, but your citadel's only 127, and then you've got kind of dots of weakness. I mean, you do have very good deck armor. 2 levels of 38mm, all from front to back, plus an additional 38mm in the middle, and then an additional 38mm on the bow and the stern. So yeah, you got 90mm easily deck armor throughout the ship, front to back, on different layers. So yeah, the plunging fire, that's going to be good. Small size, you could actually be a competitor for the battleships. Your small size, even though you're slow and a bit unwieldy, you should be able to still dodge long range fire a lot easier than you would if you're a big target. And even though you've only got 4 305mm guns, they'll still hurt if you're hitting them in the right place. So.
True enough. All right, so the Setsu. You know, one thing I'm going to observe about the ships that that Gaijin picked, several of them were minimal as far as combatants go. The North Dakota never actually participated in combat. The Setsu here had 1 combat action in World War I and was retired to a target ship status, and then was only used for a deception in World War II before the Americans used it as a target ship and sunk it in the harbor. It's the choices of ships for some of the other countries are really interesting in that regard. I'm not sure why they would pick like the North Dakota over one of its more combat noteworthy brethren or sisters. Maybe for premium purposes? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think it's more because North Dakota probably fit the kind of abilities of the other ships that have come out in the game, because like you said, the Dreadnought was the first the first kind of battleship. It's generally considered the first of the battleships. It's the one that started the whole design race for the battleship and kind of gave the generally universal layout of a battleship. Obviously, they tweaked designs here and there, but ultimately it was kind of a generic layout around the Dreadnought, which, like you said, meant that a lot of the newer battleships, or a lot of the battleships of that time that came out after, had took advantage of the old design, learned from its weaknesses and stuff like that, and improved. So, as far as that goes, if you actually take the battleships that from other nations that actually saw action, like that are actually properly considered battleships.
Oh, okay.
There are very, very few that you would be able to find that would not outclass the Dreadnought because of the fact that they've taken the advantage of the HMS Dreadnought being the first, so they've been able to see the design fallbacks of the HMS Dreadnought and improve upon it. So I think that's the reason why they've chosen such ships, not because of the fact that they've seen combat, but because of the fact that they are very close to the Dreadnought. I mean, essentially, some like the ones that didn't see combat weren't. It wasn't long until they were replaced. I mean, they still stuck around, but they were quickly replaced by other newer battleships that, whilst they might only be a year younger, they've already got some new design feature that's improved already. So just the layout of the guns or stuff like that. So, but anyway, so back on with the Setsu. So the layout, it really does look a bit of a mess with regards to ammo, engines as well. Not very compact, not like the Russian ones. But then again, the Russian ones did hide everything behind coal bunkers and fuel tanks. So, take what you will out of that. But,
true.
Armor-wise, looking very, very strong on that deck armor. All throughout the ship. So, I think, to be honest, the Japanese are going to be very, very strong at long range. Not because of their guns, because if you look at the guns, they've got some the guns aren't as strong as, I mean, looking at the Setsu's guns, they're better than its cousin, the Icoma. 315 millimeters of pen at 10,000 meters range. Still not the strongest guns we've seen.
True.
But long range, 10,000 meters, you are definitely getting plunging fire coming straight down on top of you at that. So if you hit, you're going through that ship and down to the bottom, basically.
Yeah.
But again, Setsu has, or at least so far we've seen, looks like it's got the strongest hull armor. Yeah, not hull armor, sorry, deck armor, strongest deck armor.
So at long range, it may have some advantages there.
Yes. I mean, the turrets, though, have weaker roof armor than what we've seen. But deck armor as a whole, it's got multiple layers of deck armor, and that's kind of the key thing here, because the others have one layer or maybe just two layers of deck armor. But the Icoma and the Setsu have multiple layers of deck armor, some only 28mm thick, some 75mm thick. So it's various thicknesses which will act upon the shell spoil. Well, basically the first layer is going to make the shell spoil. Second layer will stop some of the spoiling. Third layer, depending on the thickness, will stop more of it, and so on and so forth. So it really is minimizing your damage. And then again, your belt armor, below the water belt armor on the side, the belt armor on the side that reaches from just above to just below the belt armor, 305mm. I think that is the thickest we've seen. Then you've got 228mm above that, and you've got 179mm below, even further below that. So you really do have some nice belt armor on the sides, especially along the waterline and below the waterline. So yeah, I reckon this is going to be quite a good contender. Gun-wise, you've got... So, this is the weird thing about the Japanese. You've got 4 turrets that have a 12-inch 45 gun, which is the 4 based around the citadels, and then the A turret at the front and the Y turret at the stern are the 41st, the 12-inch 50 guns. So slightly longer barrel, which means going to be more accurate.
Slightly different ballistics, yeah.
Yeah.
But shouldn't affect us in War Thunder because we have all those automated, systems for adjusting those things. That said, they could have different drop times. You might find that the 45s take slightly longer to get to target.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But you do have 10 152, I believe the 6 inches is, isn't it? Yep, 152. So you've got 10 152 mil turrets on the. Well, looking at them, they're the ones that are immediately around the smokestacks or the smoke funnels, and the ones that are near the citadel pointing forwards. Then you've got 8 4.7 inch, so 119, 120 mil. And those are, you've got 2 directly at the front, you've got 2 directly at the back. I don't know where the other 2 are. Yeah, no clue where the other 2 are. Oh wait, okay, so the other ones are actually on the citadel. So they're not on the actual standard deck, they're raised up on the actual citadel. And then you've got 12 3-inch guns, and then 4 30 guns. You've got a lot of guns. And the 3-inch guns are actually AA, so this actually has what could class as
decent anti-aircraft capabilities.
Well, I wouldn't say decent because of the fact that it's still going to be your solid shot direct hit on a plane shell at 6.0, which is going to be difficult because it's a 3-inch cannon, which is 76 mil, so it's going to be slow rate of fire. But it's a lot better than what any of the other battleships get. We'll start off with that.
True enough.
So, and with the AI, how they shoot, yeah, I'd say you've got a chance.
True enough.
Battleships, I wouldn't say have a chance. You do have some 450 mil torpedo launchers as well.
True enough, and those long lances should be pretty well. I don't know. Are those long lances? Because I think long lances are actually 533 millimeters, aren't they?
Yeah, the long lances are 533. So these are your older style torpedoes. But
right. Still, you got the
pretty good.
True enough.
I don't know where the tube launchers are though. I can't see them.
Aft, just aft of the rear turret. There's 2 launchers below on each side. That's 4.
Oh yeah, torpedo tube. They look like torpedoes.
Yeah,
they are torpedoes. They're not actually. Yeah, they're torpedoes. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to China.
So China's getting the PTZ-89.
PTZ-89, yes indeed. And as far as I can tell, it's going to be like an Object 120, but for China.
It essentially is. Armor is weak like the Object 120s. You're not really going to be able to take a shell. Gun-wise, again, Object 120 is 443 mil air gun. I believe it's stabilized. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think... Yeah, gun stabilizer, 2-plane.
Nice.
So you will be able to fire on the move. You've got a 5-second reload. This ultimately is going to be nasty because you've got 31-ton weight and you've got 739 horsepower, which means it's got good acceleration.
Right.
You've got 5-second reload time. Your turret rotation is 13.2, which is
decent.
Your armor is nothing. But
right.
Unlike the Object 120, you do have a 50 cal roof-mounted anti-air machine gun. So
at least you have something to defend yourself from airplanes.
And everyone knows that the 50 cals can hurt, especially the Russian and the Chinese ones. But ultimately, this is just going to be a really strong Object 120. I can see this going up to 9.0 just because it's stabilized. And the fact that it gets a better shell than the Object 120, 443 mil of armor pen on a Sabo. Doesn't get heat FS though. But you don't need heat FS with that thing.
True.
So yeah. That might just make me go down the Chinese tree. Maybe.
Maybe.
If they bring out something else that to go alongside it, then that's nice. Other than the ZTZs, then maybe.
All right, so that takes us to their new airplane, the Q5AB.
Which is, yeah, essentially a Chinese MiG-21.
Right. The ordnance loadouts are kind of limited, but
Yep.
yeah, at least you can't have ordnance loadouts.
I do have to admit, it is a nice looking aircraft, though.
It is a pretty bird.
But, oh, hang on, stop, my bad. This is not the MiG-21, I'm thinking of the J's.
Okay.
Is this the... So, I believe this is actually a, like, Chinese built aircraft. This is like one of their designs. I don't think this has actually had it. I don't think this has actually had any influence from any Russian aircraft.
I'm seeing an awful lot of Russian design notes in its design, but that doesn't mean it's directly based on a specific Russian aircraft.
So let's see. Okay, so it's a development of the MiG-19. First jet aircraft in the Chinese tech tree of indigenous design. So it's basically a development of the Chinese J6, which was a Russian MiG-19.
Got it.
It's supposed to be an attacker. Have
they put a dev blog out on it yet?
Not on the Q5A, but I'm just reading the information on the. I'm just reading the description of the Q5 as to the Q5 early as to what it actually was. So the Q5 early was basically a like follow-on design from the J6 MiG, but done by China only. Russia had no involvement. That's the reason why it does have Russian elements, is because it's based on the J6. So the fuselage is taken from the J6, and same with the kind of wing shape and everything. But the air intake and the nose is all kind of new Russian, new Chinese design. So I'm just going to remember it as a hybrid now.
Should be an interesting one for the Chinese tree, at least.
Yeah. So the Q5AB is basically just the Q5 early with, I believe, slightly better flight performance, especially on the turning. And by slightly better, I mean only slightly better. And I think it's also just got a bit more ordnance options. Yeah, it gets the Type 130 rockets and the Type 90 heats. Oh, wait,
Got
no.
it.
Okay, it's Type 30 rockets. That's what the Q5AB gets. So, again, not really much different from the Q5 early. You just get tiny bit different feel to the aircraft and the better rockets.
Okay, let's move on to Italy then. They're getting a Leo 1A5.
Yep, and that is it.
Yeah, and I was just checking. They've got the exact same ammunition options. So,
Yep, that is literally it for them. They're not getting anything in the ships department.
Well, they are getting a FC airplane. I've got to find it now. FC-20 bis, yes.
It's an attacker. It looks like a...
It's a duck for the Italian tree.
Yeah. That's a big muzzle.
At least this one carries bombs.
Yeah, but that's a big muzzle for the 37mm. And you're only carrying 160 kilogram bombs. I don't know what it is with the... And yeah. 2.0. It's 2.0 with 35mm of armor pen. I'm going to test fly. I want to see how it handles. Because even at 2.0 with 35mm armor, you've got to get pretty close.
Right up in its business.
Yeah. That 2mm armor pen is only, that 35mm armor pen is only at 10 meters of range, which you are not getting there.
Well, you can get there, but usually you get to 0 meters range right after.
So, it's not exact fast. So it does feel a bit like the duck in acceleration. No, here we go. Okay, yeah, so it picks up speed a bit better than the duck. Whether it's got the same survivability of the duck, which is 0, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sitting here looking at this thing sticking out the side. It's the antenna aerial.
Yeah.
It looked like another gun. I'm like going, what in the world do they stick a gun there?
Just do me a quick favor. Do you know the turret? Is that a 20?
I'll take a look in just a moment here.
Right, so it does not like to do a loop. Like you get
can't imagine why that would be a problem.
You just get so far up and then you just can't flip over onto your back. So we have 30 cals, which are mounted in a really awkward position.
Turret's a 50. No, yeah, turret's a 50.
Okay. It felt chunkier than the average 30 cal.
Well, yeah, but the 37mm looked chunkier than the average 37mm too.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like a 76 or even a 90. Just because of that muzzle brake.
Let's see, naval side for Italy.
Nothing.
Yes, there is.
What?
On the Blue Water Fleet, there's the Aquilone, 3.3 BR premium.
Oh, the premiums. Yeah, I meant normal tech tree. You know, I'm not that bothered about premiums.
And there's also supposed to be a Celeri Sahariano. But I can't find it, so I don't know. Oh, no, I don't know where it is. It was on the patch notes, but I don't see it here.
This 37mm is quite good in the fact that it's very consistent on its accuracy, but it also doesn't overheat that quickly. So you get a decent.
Are you talking about the that FC-28 still?
Yeah, the 2.0 Italian.
Right.
What it's called. It's not actually that bad. I mean, it's very, very slow and sluggish, which means you're an easy target for even the low tier AA guns.
Yeah.
You're going to see at 2.0, but you can hit and hurt with that 37. I think though it's, I'm not sure, but I've got a feeling that if you take damage in one of those engines, it's going to be a HS129B scenario.
Yeah, it can't fly anymore.
Nope.
And the good engine takes you to the scene of the crash.
But in fairness, though, it's I mean, you do get 2 forward-firing 50 cals as well, which is is more than what you usually get. So can't
Right.
fault that. But
All right, so moving on to France here. We have a low tier Lorraine 37L.
yep, which is basically just like a French version of an SU7.
It's kind of shaped like
Is
a
it
truck.
the SU7? What's the hang on, I'm gonna. Where's the Russians? SU5. That's
Cookie,
what I was thinking.
eat your
SU5.
hearts out.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. So you've got 47mm cannon, which with a 3.9 second reload speed, and a 94mm penning APC shell.
No stabilization. It is not easy to fire.
I was going to say, you're not going to get stabilization at 1.3. Not unless someone decided to use friggin' time machine and actually make it so France could do something.
I'm not even touching that one with a 10-foot pole because you and I both know we have some great friends who are French. They would kill us both. I'd make a surrender joke right now, but again, I like my friends.
Well, I was talking about in-game, like low tier.
Just teasing.
But real life too.
I mean, it moves along all right. Somebody's gonna troll an MBT with it.
Like, look at this.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think the M22 is the ultimate troll for an MBT.
I agree.
BT7's just too Russian.
True enough. Okay, and they're getting is it pronounced Leclerc or Leclerc in this case? I have seen conflicting information so many times, I'm not even going to bother, guessing on that.
Yes, that thing. So one thing I really do like about this tank is just that the smoke launchers are actually in recesses in the actual armor.
As opposed to sitting out there where everybody can so much as, glare at them to kill them.
Yeah. I mean, not that you can shoot off the actual smoke launchers or anything like that from a tank, but yeah.
I think bragging about it, I got a cookie from my son over here. I think bragging about the cookie lost me a like. I've only got 5 now instead of 6. Anyway, this is going to be just a backup to the... well, not backup, but I guess this will be their new top tier.
Yep.
Do they gain anything from it?
I don't... I mean, I think it's like armor. I think it's a better armor. I mean, definitely look at that turret. It's definitely different.
It is chunky.
It's a lot chunkier. I mean, it's easier to hit the breach now as well. So, thanks, France. But, I don't know. It definitely looks chunkier, but I'm not seeing any difference in shells. Not seeing any different in horsepower. It is heavier though as well, probably due to the chunkier armor package. I think that's mainly what it's going to be, just armor package.
Numbers look the same. That's what's so funny. Of course, it could just be preliminary numbers.
Well, it is the same gun. So, I don't know. But there is something else that we are forgetting about
In France?
in France. Oui, oui. The
What, pray tell?
MX-30 B2 Brennus.
It's been there forever.
Ah, but the little honeycomb device on the turret. Do you not know of this?
I didn't see it in the patch notes.
So basically, do you know the headlights on the T90 that stops the rockets?
Oh, okay. Yes, you're right. I did see that.
The honeycomb is going to work to the same effect for the MX-30B2 Prentice, which means that all that error armor is now pointless.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I mean, it's not going to stop Sabo. Doesn't really work as well on heat FS. It's mainly there for ATGMs, which now aren't going to be able to hit you.
Only some of them won't be able to hit you. Others will certainly still be able to. The only ones that won't be able to will be the optically guided ones.
Isn't that like all of them at the moment?
No, we got radar guided ones. We have wire guided ones. You know, take your pick.
What tank has radar guided ones?
The Russian little low profile. They introduced it like a patch or two ago.
Oh,
they were
Chrysanthemum.
Yeah, the chrysanthemum. Yeah, the flower tank.
I thought the radar was only lock onto air. I didn't think it could lock onto tank.
Yeah.
Well, not lock on a track. I thought it could static lock.
Yeah. That's how you can shoot a tank that's behind smoke with the chrysanthemum. You lock onto it with the radar and guide it right in.
Oh, fair enough. Not realize that.
So that's an example there. I don't know if there's any others. I don't think there are.
So basically, Russia's just beat the system that they've got on their tank, and the only other nation, one other tank in the game has it. Yeah, they've just beaten it. So
yes, that's exactly what I was saying.
Congratulations, Russia! You've done it again.
Okay, so let's move on to Sweden before we cause another war.
For France is the P47 Razorback Premium.
Oh, right. Forgot about the P47.
Other than that, there's nothing new.
Okay.
Although, okay, for some reason I had a bug then, where the P63C5 was actually showing the picture of the Swedish J35D Draken. Don't know why, but I was like, wait, why does the French have Draken in rank 3? And then I hovered over and it switched back to P63. It's just like, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it looks like a P63 on mine, so.
Over to Sweden.
Sweden gets a Sturf 122B PLSS. Tell me, what do you know about the Stridsvagn 122B?
Pretty sure it's just a Leopard 2A6.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So one thing I do know is that they have moved the STRV-81 RB52 premium tank to the Swedish tech tree. So it is no longer in the British tech tree. But I believe if you bought the STRV-81 RB52 whilst it was in the British tech tree, I think it's going to stay in the British tech tree for you.
That would be typical, yes.
But yeah, hey ho.
Good deal. So Sweden gets his 2A6. They also get an S.
One thing I will say is weird about the STRV 122B PLSS is that optics on the roof.
Yes. Yes, indeed. The PLSS optics.
Yes, it looks like Wally.
It does look like Wally. I didn't think about that.
I just expect this to pop up from behind someone and go, Wally! And then shoot.
Wally!
bang.
Hey, that's
One
that's
thing-
that's the M901 stick. It can't have it.
Now, one thing I did just realize as well is that Sweden does not get the 625mm Sabo shell that the Germans get on their Leopard 2A6.
Ah, so they've got to stick with the DM33.
And the reason why that is because I'm not actually sure if the STRV 122B is a Leopard 2A6. It might still be a Leopard 2A5, just a different variant of it because it is using the same cannon as the Stridsvagen 122. I tried it, failed, but yeah.
It was
it's
pretty
used
good,
the same cannon
Stridsvagen.
as that. Yep, it's used the same cannon as that, and that is a Leopard 2A5. So I think
It's just a 2A5 with a little bit of extra.
Is what that extra is, I do not know.
Gotcha. Okie
Maybe
dokie.
that optics on the top, because you don't have Wally on the normal SDRV 122.
That takes us to the Air Tree SK60B.
This I am actually looking forward to, and I can test fly it.
Nice. I
So,
cannot. Tell me how it flies.
It's 7.3, and you can talk through the loadout whilst I load up a test flight.
Absolutely. The SK60B was the follow-on vehicle that was actually accepted into service from the something 105. I think it was S105 or K105 project. I did the whole dev blog on that. It was a really interesting plane, and I'm excited for it, but it's going to be a long time before I can have it. It has options for either two gun pods, the 30mm Akan M55 cannons, two RB-05A bombs, or 305 kilogram bombs. Let's see, 12 M56D rockets, or six 14.5 centimeter PSRA-K M49A rockets. Those look like they're going to be pretty effective compared to most of the other options.
So, from personal experience flying a load of other Swedish aircraft, because I am currently up to the J29, I've just got is it the A32, the 90 jet?
Hang on. Get that on realistic. A32A. Ryzen, did you hear me?
Yep, A32A, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just focusing on strafing someone. So, A32A, yeah. So, I've been through. You know me, I love ground pounding with jets and I love using rockets in a fighter because that way you can dual purpose. But from personal experience, the 14 centimeters are not fun because they drop like a stone.
So they're just like the ones from the American line, the Tiny Tims.
No, they don't drop off your wing, then launch, and then have a port arc. They fire straight off your wing. Think of more of the N1K2JA's rockets, the big ones, the 80 kilogram ones.
Ah, yes.
The ones that literally just go fall down to the ground.
Complete with sound effect, I'm certain.
Yep. It's like the rocket motor fizzles out after so far, like, too much effort. Dies of a heart attack or something. So, yeah. Personally, I use the M49A rockets on the J29B. Those ones are actually really good. I think 500mm of pen or something like that. 400 and some mil of pen.
Yeah, the M56Ds.
Yes. There you go, M50s. Yeah. Anyways, basically, those ones are the ones I prefer to use. However, with this, I believe the RB rockets, the one where you only get two of them, I believe those are going to be the main ones to go for because they are M class, which means you fire them and they go directly where your nose is pointing.
Oh, very nice.
So that's definitely so you're kind of guaranteeing a kill with that.
As long as you can keep your nose pointed at it.
Yes. But from what I'm actually feeling with this aircraft right now flying, the roll rate is, once you get above 400 kilometers an hour, the roll rate is really, really smooth. Very fast. Not 104 fast, but I'd say 190 fast.
Gotcha.
And turning as well. Turning is sharp. I mean,
That's what I expected from it.
You've got air brakes as well, which will allow you to slow down and get that more accurate hit rather than having to worry about the ground rushing up to meet you. And again, you've got that sharp pull out, which means you don't need to worry about the ground coming up to meet you. Acceleration's all right. It's not bad. Like, for example, then I just dodged a tree because I rolled to the left and didn't see it, and then I saw it coming, so I managed to roll out of the way. But yeah, acceleration is decent for a 7.3. Top speed is something to be desired. You aren't going faster than a Mark 24 Spit. But you can outroll a Mark 24 Spit.
Nice.
So, but it's just a nice looking aircraft as well, to be honest.
It's pretty.
It's sleek but beefy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how they managed to make it sleek but beefy at the same time, you know?
Like a long distance runner.
Yes.
Something like that.
I just love the roll rate on this thing. I am literally just rolling all the time now.
Sounds like it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, the only downside to it is no inbuilt weapons. So basically, you either bring the two 30mm gun pods so that you can defend yourself against enemy aircraft as well as strafe ground units, or you choose bombs or rockets to ground pound, but then you've got to run from enemy aircraft. You can't do both.
That's going to eliminate a lot of flexibility for it. That's too bad.
And I gotta say, I do love the new spark out, the new animation for exploding rounds when you hit the ground or hit an aircraft or something.
The graphical updates are amazing. This patch.
Yes.
I mean, really.
Especially for aircraft.
Speaking of the update, real fast here, from my indications, on the Linux client, which doesn't affect the Windows client, they have deprecated the standard client that most people have been using. You'll need to be able to run the Vulkan client, but it is very stable and very capable. I can put some additional details in if somebody wants to know those, but I expect that out of all the players around here, I'm probably the only one playing with Linux, so...
I think Casu.
Well, is it Casu? I think might as well. Yeah. So that's a possibility.
Recently,
so there'll be some changes there. Be prepared for that, and we'll see where it goes from there. That's all the vehicles. There is a new location for air battles, but I think it's for arcade.
So I'm actually trying to break this thing's wing off on a tree to see how it flies without one wing, and I can't. Like, I'm flying through trees and they're not actually snapping the wing.
It may not have a full damage model on that.
Flying model, no. Oh, okay, I put it in the dirt and it actually did clip the wing on the dirt. Well, no, I'm still flying. I actually managed to scrape the wing on the ground. So, let's try it again after these trees pass. Oh, okay, no. So yeah, damage model's not fully sorted for the wings yet because the wing didn't snap off. I ended up just cartwheeling into the ground and then sliding for a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Overall, I like this aircraft. Good response, good roll rate, good turn. Only downside to it is lack of weapon options. And I'm doing donuts on the runway right now. But yeah, lack of weapon options in the fact that you cannot have some form of cannon or machine gun as well as having ground ordnance. You have to choose one or the other.
Gotcha. Well, I'm not finding that new map, so I'm not going to worry about it for now. It was just mentioned in the patch notes.
Okay, so this has such a powerful rudder that I am wepping, so I'm at 102% throttle on the runway, and I am still keeping 20 kilometers an hour perfect and in a tight donut, and I'm not going wider. It's like the tail wheel and the rudder. I don't even know if I don't think they've got it modeled in. Basically, the rudder is just really strong on this.
Any other questions before we start closing things up over here? Let me know. Rising, there is a few other odds and ends in the patch notes I noted down here. There's new test flights for naval air for U.S., British, and Russian. So they've got the new aircraft carriers.
Yep, we've seen that with the Harriers so far and the Yak-38M.
Yep. New test flight for the Ka-29, which I did not mess with. There are new targets in test drive for large ships, which I'm not going to bother showing on that.
Well, I'm going to take the Admiral, what's it called, out right now.
Dipper.
The Prince Eugen.
Oh, Prince Eugen. And the mouse is getting a new shell.
Yes, we shall take a look at that first. Because I have my mouse.
I do not. I've started the research on it. And to be honest, I only started the research because somebody's going to want me to take it at some point in time and do some sort of silly challenge on it.
Who?
Who knows? Take your pick.
Oh, fair enough. So, yeah, that's actually a nice update for the mouse. It's needed a better shell because that's the Panzer Grenadier 43 has always been lacking. Always been lacking. You can hit a T-54 or a T-55, or well, not even a T-55. You can hit a T-54 on the front of the hull with that Panzer Grenadier 43 shell, and it can ricochet. And you think, why the hell is it ricocheting? It's got 257 mil of armor pen at 500 meters, and the T-54's armor plate is like 120 meters, 120 mil thick. So you're thinking, why the hell is it ricocheting? Yeah, sure, it's sloped, but 500 meters, I've still got 206 mil for his minimum. Like, I've still got roughly 206 mil, maybe slightly less, for his sloped armor. I should be going through, but no, you don't go through. So hopefully we should be seeing how well, and it's a much higher velocity as well. So no more like aiming ridiculously high in the sky to try and shoot someone long range.
Right. Is there anything else you think we ought to look at on this patch?
Well, I did notice when I was test flying the what's it called? The SK-60B.
Yes.
2 radar SBAA rather than 1.
Nice.
On the test server. Don't know whether that's intended or whether it's just for that or what, but there was also a T-54 or T-62 or something on the ground. I didn't really take a look at that. I just strafed the AA guns, but there was 2 of them instead. Still got the annoying 2 MiG-15s.
Yeah, one low, one high.
Yeah, that when you're in a vehicle like that, you cannot catch. So
I'm also liking the new fire effects for rockets. The smoke and the... Oh yeah, it's all good. Alright, I gotta look at what the repair cost is for the Sturv 122 PLSS.
oh, the Swedish one.
Ja.
Why? What's up with the Swedish one?
Somebody's asking.
Oh, sweet.
The repair cost. Repair cost stock is 4,310 silver lions. But that's stock.
So the new ships in test sailing
Yeah.
only be for the battleships because I've just taken out Prince Eugen, the heavy cruiser, and it's just the same old one.
No problem, Dylan. Happy to help out.
So what did you say was new for the KA-50?
No, KA-29 has a new test flight.
Oh, yeah, I can't do the KA-29. Way too high. I haven't really done much in helicopters except for in the British deck tree.
Yeah, I've done a little bit, but not in the Russian tree. I mean, it's the U.S. tree pretty much.
I think going forward, I'm going to have to play my mouse for a bit, just get that new shell. E100 does get it as well. Annoyingly, the Yag Tiger does not get said new shell.
I think you'll find a way to survive. Probably by taking in your mouse instead of the Yag Tiger. All right. Well, I think that's everything here, Rising. Thank you so much for helping me out on this. A lot of crazy things. I like the new effects, the visual, the client for the dev client. Now that it's the second dev server, has been very stable, except for one crash early on. And to be honest, that's not unusual for Gaijin at all. But it's been great for the entire stream. Have you had any trouble with the client itself besides that one image?
Which one image?
No,
to be honest, I mean, I had trouble with a normal client earlier where I actually had a freeze and a crash, but with the dev server, it's been stable all night for me.
I hate to say it, but they may actually have made some real progress that way. If they can make it just as stable on the live servers as the dev server was this time, I'll be pretty delighted. Of course, they really didn't have it that stable on the previous dev server, but, you know, that's okay.
If they could actually fix something instead of saying they fixed something and then have that problem pop up like 2 days later, then that would be some real progress. But, you know.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And I'm going to go ahead and close up my stream here. Thank you all, everybody, for joining me, and you have a great night. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try and get the answers to you, but you're going to have to ask fast because the dev server will be closing in a few hours here. Good night.